Well, hello, everybody. I have Stream Brain because I haven't done this in a couple of days. We've got 23 people joining us tonight. We have got a lot to cover, and as usual, some of it broke right before the show started. However, before we get into that, let me say a big thank you and welcome to Prophet of the Dragon and the Admiral. Let's go ahead and start with you, Steve. How are you doing, brother?
Good, man. Making that march towards 1K, so things have been good. So glad you're back.
Yeah, if you guys, Steve and I started working together when I first started out. He is at 960 subs. He is Prophet of the Dragon. If you have not subscribed to Steve, he makes some pretty darn good content. He also knows his Wheel of Time stuff. Now, the man who needs no introduction, the Admiral, Nerdporeal Life Form, who's been crushing it with all things Nintendo. How are you doing, dude?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you are crushing it with Nintendo, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking about Lord of the Rings, right? Well, I'm working on my Zelda retrospective, and Zelda's what got me into fantasy and Lord of the Rings. So I'm going back in time. I'm going back and re-exploring what I love about fantasy and the fantasy genre, and I can't wait to talk.
Awesome. The one, the only, the Max Field Von Priestley, Mr. Silky himself. You had a great live stream last night, Max, and I really enjoyed your toxic fandom video. And I know you'd been talking about it for a couple of weeks, and I really think the final product is really, really good. And I think we will end up talking about some of that tonight. How are you doing, Max?
I'm doing better now that I'm here. So chat, I apologize. That is totally on me. I was late. These fine gentlemen were already here. But yeah, no, thank you for the compliment, man. Yeah, the live stream was fantastic last night. Quarter Black Garrett showed up, and we got a whole new bunch of members. And yeah,
I was there too.
Oh, of course. A lot of you guys were there last night, and I was very. Zaxx is like. MVP penis showed up as well out of nowhere too. So he that was a wild experience, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. So thank you guys for the great reception though for the newest video. It's a subject that needs to be talked about, and a lot of people kind of bounce around the issue.
I spent a lot of time driving today because I dropped somebody off at the airport, which we will talk about. But let's get to our Canadian representation. The one, the only, your sole source of all things India cinema. Zaxx, how you doing?
Well, I've been eclipsed by Flaccid Phoenix, so I'm feeling mixed emotions about that.
I know.
He broke 2K subs the fun person because it's the first few minutes. I can't say what I want to say. So, yeah, he passed me, but good on him. I'm glad he's doing well. But so I'm now the second in command of the Indian Army.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I've been enjoying those conversations on Thursday night, and I look forward to the one that you guys are going to have this coming Thursday too. It's Tuesday, right? It's been a long 2 weeks. I've been on the road. Those of you who don't know, I was on the road for 2 weeks. I was at Comic-Con, hung out with everybody, but then I took a very good friend of this channel who's on the show, Purple Valkyrie. I took her to Colorado and showed her the mountains and some of the Rockies, and we had a little adventure. And she's had some unfortunate events on her return trip. She'll probably talk about them in a live stream tomorrow, but she is not yet home, and she was supposed to have been home about 12 hours ago. So we'll just park that there. So hail to you, the one and only Purple Valkyrie, who is in the chat right now. You will be home soon. Thanks for being here tonight. So who do we have in the chat, guys? We've got a whole lot of people. We have 25 people. The one and only Alasia, a troubled green Roman of the Empire. Let me see it. We've got Lyle Hammock. Hail to you. And let's see, Ben Cordwell. Stephen Ransom. I was streaming with him on Gray's channel. Man of War 665, the neighbor of the beast. Cool dude. So glad we got to hang out. Max, you hung out with Man of War 665 too when we were at the meetup.
Oh yeah, we had a great time.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's awesome.
Totally. The one and only, our poet laureate, Rosie Gamgees, who was composing limericks before the show started. Paul Wolfley's here, Cycle Dwarf 9, Shield Wall of Dragons, Jacob Ironside, Matt Jones. And I think if I missed you, just put it all in caps and harass me, and we will get to it. So yeah, okay. And of course our channel members are Matt Jones, the one and only Daniel. Hail to you. Got to meet Daniel as well. We have to do that again. You're a very cool guy. And then of course Silverlock, who has some fantastic reading recommendations that goes a little deep into 80s fantasy and science fiction. So as usual, before the show started, Zaxx sent me something that kind of blew up what we were going to talk about tonight, but I actually found something else that I think I'd like to start the show with that no one on this panel knows anything about. Now, I saw this trailer at Elvis. I went to go see Elvis with Purple Valkyrie, and I'll share some of my thoughts on that. But I wanted to share this.
Ask you a question though first, Salty. This is important because you mentioned you were on a road trip with Purple, and you said you showed her the mountains. Is that euphemism? What does that mean?
Jesus. I showed her Colorado, which is not a euphemism. So no, we saw Colorado.
Okay,
we saw the mountains of northern New Mexico, and way to derail the stream. I'm glad we got that out of there.
I had to ask.
Get it out early.
Yeah, we'll get it out of the way early. All right. So I don't know if anybody on YouTube has covered this yet. It's called Bros. You guys know what this is?
No. Is this what I'm scared? Just, I guess, proceed, good sir. I'm afraid.
Yeah. Seriously? Okay. We're rolling.
Hey guys, it's Bobby Lieber coming to you from the future home of the LGBTQ+ museum. Everyone is really excited and totally getting along.
This happens to be Bisexual Awareness Week, and no one has acknowledged it. Lesbian.
That's as good as it gets. It gets weirder. It gets very, very weird. This is a real movie. This is not a Saturday Night Live skit trying to be ironic.
For a minute, I thought this was the Lord of the Rings stuff you're talking about.
Well, it could be. It could be. This could be the Orc Army. I'm going to show you a little bit more.
Lesbian History Month was in March. Nobody said a goddamn thing. Of course, lesbians get a month and we get a week.
So what's happening? Didn't you guys have an announcement?
This is a little unexpected, but we are in a throuple situation.
Wow.
Dear God in heaven.
Is this Paul Feig?
This is real. This isn't trying to be ironic. This isn't trying to be like quirky. This is a legitimate movie, and I saw this and I talked about it in the green room before the show started. This trailer came on before Elvis in a packed movie theater in western rural Texas. Let me tell you how flat this fell. Let's just say that it was am I being insensitive by pointing out how weird this movie feels and looks? Am I the problem?
I'm there with you. I'm uncomfortable watching it, but I guess I guess it goes with everything else. It's not made for me anymore, so nothing seems to be made for me. So
it just comes off as cringe. It comes off as kind of obnoxious, in my opinion.
I would say that it's like, this is going to be punny, but I'm waiting for the turn, quote unquote, where the comedy starts and the plot turns. So we'll see.
There's no bigot yet. Where's the bigot?
Well, we're the bigots.
Yeah.
It seems to be a bit tongue in cheek. Like, I feel like they are trying to kind of break that fourth wall or whatever, but I don't know. Like Zaxx, you said, I'm waiting for that thing to drop where it's like, oh, but this quirky thing is about to happen to further the plot. But I'm wondering if this just is the plot. I don't know.
Here we go.
You're in a throuple? Let me tell you what's progressive now. Being alone. I love my life. I love my freedom. I love my independence.
That's kind of sad.
That I don't want to be in a throuple. I don't even want to be in a couple.
Bobby, I had sex with that 65-year-old.
Jesus, he's...
Excuse me.
Am I the problem? Am I the problem? Just like, it gets worse. I'm just gonna say that. Let me tell you what this meant to me. This movie and this trailer told me that we are at peak all of this. This feels like the Walmart version of LBGTQ. That's what this feels like. This feels like the ultimate algorithmic big studio co-optation of all of the narratives we've been hearing for how many years? Now, do you guys think that's wishful thinking? I mean, I legitimately don't know who the hell this movie is made for.
Isn't it made for that community?
I don't know. Would that community go see it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Is this coming out in the box? This is like actually being released in cinemas?
This is a movie that is going to be released in the theaters.
So I don't know, because it's not going to make any money. Then you're going to, of course, see all the headlines behind it. But
sure.
I don't know. I think I'm sort of, this is peak. Like, I don't know. I would have never thought it. I don't know. Maybe it is me too. Maybe I'm there with you. I don't know. I would never think about going like ever.
It just seems like they're creating caricatures and stereotypes that we were told we shouldn't treat people as caricatures or stereotypes.
Yeah.
Max, you are really quiet. Is that strategic, tactical, or are you contemplating?
Biding his time.
Yeah.
No, I think I think our protagonist here, which is, I'm assuming, the guy who's narrating all this, he's probably the one that people are going to start relating to, where he's like, well, I'd rather just be single or whatnot. And he has all these comedic stereotypes around him, because I'm seeing in the credits that it's like from the directors of Forgetting Sarah Marshall or the producers of Bridesmaids, which are funny, but they're all heterosexual rom-coms.
Okay.
And so I think what they may be trying to do is a LGBTQIA plus rom-com. I have to get the IA plus in there so that we don't. That's what I'm assuming they're going for with this. Only because if I had not seen those credits of Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Bridesmaids, you know, whatnot, I think they're just trying to do a rom-com for that, sphere. But I don't know.
It's weird. I don't know. All right, let's watch a little bit more.
He's ripped. I know. It's like they injected steroids into Dumbledore. Oh my God, that's Aaron. He's very hot.
Gay guys are so stupid.
I know. But we've been smart enough to brand ourselves as being smart.
It's our little secret.
You met a guy?
I don't think I'm his type. He's like gay Tom Brady.
What do you...
I love that song, by the way. I love that song. The song just saved it for me.
Maybe we don't have to say anything. Maybe we can just, I mean, this isn't made for me, and that's okay. If there are people who enjoy it, that's cool. I just don't know of anybody that I know who's gay is gonna like this. I mean, I don't. You know, this seems like everything they kind of told me I shouldn't think about them. But you
I
know,
mean, I'm bouncing between it's harmless because it's just being a comedy and just being I don't know. I'm sort of less speechless because I mean, if it's just meant to be a comedy and not preachy, then fine. It's probably not gonna make any money, but I mean, you want to take a shot at making a comedy about whatever the hell you want to make a comedy about. I mean, fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about it when nobody watches it.
Psycho Dwarf 9, thank yous. A $2 super chat says, remember, Hollyweird is where trends go to expire. And I agree. And that's kind of what I was trying to hint at earlier when I was talking about this trailer, where this to me was the high watermark of pushing this. I'll just call it an agenda, in my opinion. And, you know, whatever it might be, is that wishful thinking? Zaxx, is that wishful thinking? Am I being crazy?
Well, one thing that's crazy is Flaccid is saying that these are all gay singers, but George Michael wasn't gay, was he?
No.
Oh, yeah, he was. Yeah, of course.
No.
He was super straight. He had models in his videos and everything.
Yeah. Wake me up before you go, go. All right. Nobody wants to hear that. The one and only Nico Glock, the man who makes myths and makes the police show up. Hail to you. It's $5 super chat says, hi fam. Well, hey to you, Nico. It's great to see you. All right, let's just watch a little bit more of this.
What are you into? One of these ripped idiots with no opinions?
No, I'd like someone who's physically very frail and won't stop talking.
And I bet he's as intimidated by you as you are by him.
I'm down for whatever.
Yeah, I can do whenever and I can do whatever.
Cool, whatever, whenever. GIF of Michael Scott dancing. Office GIF? This person isn't gay.
I need you to be honest with me.
You like these rowy, meathead idiots. Oh, they're fighting. You like that? Hey. I can be tough like your boys. Oh, that's what you like, huh? Oh,
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, that's cool.
My bad.
So the biggest problem is it's not funny.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's just not funny either.
Like who's writing this?
Who's it? Yeah, who's
Where's the
writing it?
jokes?
Who is they writing it for? It just seems like it's a commodity. It seems like it's mass produced. I don't even know. This just seems like we need a movie about all of the colors of the rainbow flag, and we need to make it seem. I don't even know, guys. I can't even be funny about this.
Like,
I
make
was
it
just
like-
what the hell is this?
Like
You know?
make it compelling. To make it a little edgy. Come on, I mean,
I know.
seriously, like we've
it's
regressed
edgy.
in terms of comedy. In terms of comedy,
It's-
we've completely regressed compared to like a decade and a half ago.
Yeah.
In forms of comedy, yeah, this is an edgy comedy. In terms of the content or the source material, they're trying to be edgy. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to be very outwardly thruple. Look at how quirky and like weird. Isn't that just hilarious? But it doesn't come off that way. It just comes off as, like you were saying, Salty, a stereotype, which is extremely harmful for these communities. Because then these white liberal women are going to go watch this and think, how cute, look at this. And then they actually meet a gay person in real life and they have all these stereotypes. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah. Ask them if they're in a throuple.
Why aren't you the cute caricature that I saw in the movie?
Right.
Wow.
Follow me on this one though for a second. Now, what if camera zooms out and it's Kurt Russell and he's got a checklist saying, is this gay enough? And checking boxes. What if it's a fourth wall breaking film where it's like they're trying to make the gayest movie, but it's people who aren't gay? That could be funny.
That would be funny. No, I think that would be fun. Well, I think that's the biggest problem with this whole thing is it's not funny. Something like that would be funny if you like cut in and it's a bunch of people in a writer's room going, did we get these check marks? Yes. All right. And they're patting each other on the back. And then some guy just comes up with thruple and they're like, yes, right. That's funny. This is just not.
Yeah. Let me get to this super chat from Lyle Hammock, good friend of this channel. Hail to you, Lyle. It's for $5 says, hail to all on the panel. You guys should check out the trailer for Princess Made by Fox. Going to Hulu, you will cringe until your body seizes up. LOL. Does anybody know what that's about? Has anybody checked that trailer out that Lyle's referring to?
Got nothing.
Wow. Crickets. All right, we may have to check that out toward the end of the show, Lyle. Thank you very much for that. And the one and only, thank you, by the way, Lyle Him. It's great to see you. The one and only Squeaka, hail to you, my sister in Bourbon, for $5 US. She says, "Is this enough not to play this again? Can I buy freedom from this?" Squeaka, you can. Remember, I'm not here to indoctrinate. I'm just here to educate you. So hail to you, Squeaka Mouse. Drink some bourbon for me tonight. All right, let's go ahead and let's see where this trailer ends. Oh, we got a parade.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride!
Now I have to go to a pride party and you're both too old to be in the pool. Please leave.
People are threatening to boycott the museum.
You can't say Lincoln was gay.
If we don't do this, we're letting the heterosexual terrorists win.
There are trans...
Yikes.
What?
What?
Did you hear what I heard? What
Yes, I did.
Funny?
This is why I don't get it. Like, what am I missing? I mean, it was it's not made for me.
Heterosexual
I get it.
terrorist.
Who the hell is this made for? Like guys,
Zaxx is right. If this was all the straight people making the gay movie, you got something. But man, oh my god, heterosexual terrorists. It's like you're alienating the whole viewing public. It's like
arguably, if we actually look at the math between, let's be really generous, and let's say 95 to 96% of the viewing public in North America. You know, I mean, I've heard that 3 to 4%, are not heterosexual. And again, there's no judgment here. It's just numbers, So again, so what are they going to do? They're going to say we're all ists and phobes because we don't go see their crappy movie? I mean, yeah.
Who's they? Hollywood, the Access Media, both?
Yeah.
I think that's what they're setting up, is like when nobody goes to see it, it's, there comes the, well, it's because you're uncomfortable with, it's like, no,
write a
it's
better
a bad
movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me get to the super chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just like, write something that'll challenge the audience. Make it a learning experience without coming off as obnoxious and just unfunny. I mean,
but that's hard.
Marketing isn't funny, but come on,
it's hard. It's hard to write good movies, though, right?
I mean,
it takes time.
What I laugh at is things that are mired in that are edgy, that'll offend people, and stuff that are mired in truth. Well, not mired, but grounded in truth. That's what I laugh. That's what's funny. All this comes off as fake. That's why I don't find it funny.
Exactly. This is another super chat from Nico Glock. Hail to you, brother. Thank you very, very much. He says, my crotch asked me to super chat to say this is the most handsomest panel ever, especially that Zaxx, so handsome. For those of you who don't know, my crotch is a puppet that Snowdub does on the Cotton Connection show when he happens to be a very flamboyant male puppet. We'll just say that. So hail. And Nico actually cosplayed as him at the Dallas Fan Expo. So that's a really good joke. All right, let's see if we can get out of this thing.
Trans terrorists too. Caitlyn Jenner.
You're so different from me. You're very intense. I like to keep things chill. I can be chill, just like a manly man. Sup? I got you. You're gonna need some help here, bro. Okay, I'm gonna need some help here, bro.
What is going on with you?
My whole life, I prided myself on being self-reliant, but this guy has gone into my head.
Maybe you're both bottoms and that's the problem.
True. I don't even know.
I don't know what to say, guys. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'll say this. I mean, I think so. I have a friend who, well, I have a couple of friends that are conservative and gay. Some of them actually served with me in the Marine Corps, which is like one of the gnarliest, most hardcore branches of the military. And I guarantee even they, who are part of the LGBTQ community, would look at this and go, not for me. It feels much more like Twitter speak or like Twitter world.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I have multiple friends who are on both sides of the aisle, left and right, but they all happen to be homosexual, and even they still think even they would probably see this and go, you know what, this just isn't for me. So it will probably most likely be for a small niche audience, but I do see what they're doing with the rom-com aspect of things. It definitely is trying to be a I love you man, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Bridesmaids.
I never saw those, so I never saw those. So
right,
I'll take your word for it.
That's the humor that I'm getting from this. I don't know if you guys have seen those as well, but yeah.
Yeah,
Let me get to this.
I think that's what they're trying to do. I don't think they're hitting it.
Yeah. Let me get to the super chat from Punk Waddle, our mod, the Penguin Sheriff, for $5. Thank you, brother. You didn't have to do that. Says, so my thought is that this is the epitome of accepting what words and language have no Okay, let me try this again. So my thought is that this is the epitome of accepting that words and language have no weight or value anymore. It's calling it all absurd outright. It is definitely absurd, Punk Waddle. I saw this trailer, and again, maybe it was just where I was geographically in small town Western Texas, in a full movie theater full of people who wanted to go see Elvis when this thing showed, and it was striking. It was striking. I think I might have missed this. This is from Roman of the Empire for $2. He says, I'm going to need an exorcist after this trailer. You and I both. So yeah.
Bottom day.
Gay sex was more fun when straight people were uncomfortable with it.
What I found troubling about that is the kids.
Yeah.
Talking
like that in front of kids. Jesus.
So I'm going to walk away from this trailer unless you guys really need to see the end of it. But I wanted to bring this up. But I wanted to bring this up because I didn't think anyone was talking about it. I wanted to get some conversation around this and understand, am I, an istinophobe and an incel and all those things? Or is this as cringe? Well, obviously, but is this as cringe as I perceived? So,
Yes,
it's cringe, but I want to ask Max a question about his military time, because if you have gay men in the Marines with you, how do you tell when hazing stops and flirting starts?
Well, I might not be the best one to answer that, because I think Flaccid would know much more about that aspect.
It's flirting for him all the time.
Yeah, because I mean, for him, he might have a completely different. Hazing for him is really just flirting. So
first base.
I think we should probably ask Flaccid if I see him in the chat. So
yeah, what is it? Flaccid in the chat says Max never hazed. Oh, interesting. I don't know if that shot
I never hazed anyone, or I never got hazed.
He says Max was a nice glittery officer with a smile.
Oh boy.
There we go. Sparkles. Oh, that's it.
Hey, I got my fair share of knife hands to the face, all right?
Oh, there we go.
Those are stern, talking tos. So
yeah. I love all this toxic masculinity with our toxic fandom. Silverlock for $9.99. Thank you very much. Says, they are going to be mainstream. They get to be just like geeks with the horrible Star Wars and Star Trek, desperate for anything the mainstream will shovel to them. And it's kind of insulting. I mean, I really do. I obviously I'm not in this community, but it just seems like, again, I use the term they've Walmarted this. They've made sexuality a commodity that can now just fit into all these little stereotypes. And if we were to judge people and treat them like that, then we would be the ists and the phobes, yet they're going to make a movie and do the same. And that's something I don't understand, guys.
The Star Trek, the Star Trek community on Twitter, especially, every profile I look at is like, it has the rainbow flag, and they're super duper on a particular side. My side, my left, they're on a particular side of the ideological aisle, and they're just completely toxic, and they just love everything that's shoveled that's sent to them. And I'll be honest, a lot of 99.9% of New Trek is awful. Like it doesn't amount to what the older shows did. The older shows told you a story. They made you think, It did even the weaker episodes of TNG and Voyager were compelling. You could watch them and you could rewatch them and still enjoy them. Even the horrible episodes where Janeway turns into a frog, and with Tom Pearson they have frog babies. I mean, even that one's more enjoyable.
Star Trek's gay?
It is now. It is now.
That's the first part.
Yeah. Sorry, private chat popped up. Daniel, hail to you, brother. Again, it was really good to hang out. I look forward to doing it again. And if you would like to start a channel, as all of my channel members, I always say, please just reach out to me, and because I would love to be of help. This is for $20. Thank you, Daniel. Says the 80s, 90s began inserting gay characters as friends or villains. Clueless, e.g., the 2000s had gay main characters. The Birdcage. I love The Birdcage. I thought The Birdcage was genius. It's an absolutely hysterical movie with absolutely relatable plot lines and great casting and exceptional writing. I could enjoy that movie despite not being a gay man living in Miami owning a burlesque club. What's wrong with me? I mean, like, when did we go down this path that all that matters is that we have characters of this and that and the other check boxes, and the writing doesn't matter? You know, I'll finish this.
Yeah,
go ahead.
There's no self-awareness in the writers now. I mean, like you can like the Birdcage, you can write relatable characters. Look at the Orville, the character Bortus. He's an alien. He's technically, even though his race is all male, he's technically gay, and he's relatable. And even his husband is relatable and likable to a degree. But we like those characters, unlike the Stamets and Dr. as calls him Dr. Gay, Dr. Culber, at Discovery, who are just like typical soap opera type characters who can't act and they're not likable.
I'm going to finish Daniel's super chat. It just, dude, you've raised some really great points. So Birdcage, as good as it gets, they are trying to I have to be really careful here. They are trying to normalize trans and thruples now. So we're back to the 90s stage again. Gentlemen, let's respond to that. Do you think that it's just never enough, and now they're just going to normalize, and I'm going to use this word, and you all know what word I'm not saying, that they're going to normalize everything? Let's go ahead and start with you, Max, just because you're next to me and so handsome.
I'll say this. There was a fantastic tweet earlier today, and let me pull it up here real quick, by Kangmin Lee. I don't know if you guys know him. He was at the meetup in Texas. Really cool dude, and I got to hang with him just a little bit at one of the dinners that we had. But he basically made this tweet that instead of having LGBTQ in the tweet, he basically switched that with Christianity. So he said, Christians are so privileged and push our religion onto everyone too much. We have a whole month dedicated to Christians where corporations and government agencies all change their logos to a cross. And if you have a problem with it, we just say you have a phobia of Christians. He goes on and says about flags are flown everywhere. They're in Target, public schools, all this stuff. It's a very well written tweet, and I think So go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, and imagine if they flew the Christian flag, and you know what I'm talking about. Imagine if you walked into a Starbucks seeing the red and white flag with the cross. I think it goes back to the Revolutionary War. I could be mistaken, but there is a certain flag. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Max, but like, imagine that.
No,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're not interrupting at all. Yeah. So it just goes to show, like, there is nothing wrong with people celebrating their individuality, but there needs to be an equal and opposite force to also play off of. So if there is a month for this thing, I don't want to hear people oppressing Christians. You know what I mean? Or like, I don't want to hear people oppressing military, or look at the homeless population. Good percentage of them, I would say, probably over 60 to 70% are military. So so I know that didn't really answer your question, Salty. I'm really sorry.
No, it did.
But...
It totally did.
Okay.
It totally did. No, it did, because what you're saying is there seem to be these predetermined people who get all this notoriety and corporate support. But you're right. I mean, imagine if there was a month of the nuclear family, a mother, a father, and a married couple.
Well, yeah, that's what they
Imagine
don't want
that.
now, right?
That's toxic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like anything like that. I don't know. I mean, you're in the Chicago area. I hope I'm not doxing you, Nerdporeal, but
not everybody knows I'm in Chicago.
That's what everybody can tell by your accent, dude. But I mean, Chicago. What's your perspective on this? I mean, do you think? I mean, I know you like the birdcage, but do you think that we're starting to see this same thing where they need to recreate a victimhood narrative in order to gain traction? Or is that just crazy talk?
The homosexual community?
Related to Daniel and Daniel's allegory or analogy or timeline, you know, and then now they're trying to normalize trans and thruples now, going back to like what they were doing in the 90s with early representation.
I feel I do feel that the victim, I mean, you give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile, you know, so you gotta be careful. Like there has to be limitations to what can be done, and I swear, like, you know, like any wrong thing is automatically comes off. Oh, you're transphobic this, you're transphobic that. You don't agree with this. You don't like you don't like them. Then you're this phobic. It's crazy. It's like I myself try to steer clear. Like you know, you can fight or you fly. I try to avoid. I have a third option. I try to avoid people like that because it's like everybody says, they're unhinged. You got to be careful.
Well, and this dovetails to me, Max, with the video you dropped today on toxic fandom, where only certain people are toxic. You know, only certain people can get that label. But if you fall in line with something, then you're the good, virtuous fan, even though you aren't actually a fan. But I thought you did a really good job of spelling out how you wanted to build a dialogue. And I think on this side of, what's the right word? I would say for those of us, I'm just going to use these terms, legacy fans. You know, people who love the source material as it was and who maybe have a longer appreciation. It doesn't mean an encyclopedic one or, you know, an autistic level of detail. But you know what? You've always loved Superman since like the 80s or 90s. You know, you liked him the way he was. You liked Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, you name it, right? And now they're changing it. It doesn't matter like how many comic books you own to me. It doesn't matter how many movie quotes you can say or who your favorite Spider-Man is. If you love the character as it was and you're not trying to project your own ideology or your own, I don't know, du jour issue, then to me, you are a legitimate fan. Now, I can make that decision. I want to have conversations with people. Max, from your perspective, like, when does a conversation with somebody who's new, who's trying to modernize or insert representation into these legacy fandoms, when does the conversation, how do you think the conversation could start to go right? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just really liked your video. Like, what would be something to happen from an active listening side of somebody, say, who was trying to jam all those things into what legacy fans know?
Yeah, that's a great question, dude, and thank you for asking. I think what I mentioned in the video was basically my hearts and minds approach, which needs to accept on both sides full transparency, everything on the table. If you want to win over the hearts and minds of people, which, you know, we have been trying to do for the past however many decades, with the war in Iraq or whatnot, it's going to take a lot of sacrifice. It's going to take a lot of openness and genuine, authentic conversations and dialogues, like you were talking about. And once those begin to happen, then I think that's when we're going to see a change. Because if someone were to say, listen, I do want to put this into my comic book, I want to put more representation, or I want to change this character, an editor can tactfully say, and with a level of nuance and with a level of respect, he or she can say, I love it. I think we can put it in the comic book, but let's put it as the subplot, or let's have it balanced with another character that may not understand that aspect of things, or that's what storytelling does, is it leaves you to ask those questions. And I think Nerdporeal, you could probably speak to this as well, because Star Trek is very philosophical and very theological. So that once that episode ends, you're thinking about, oh man, I wonder what that would look like on that planet or with this different type of race. And it leaves you to think about those things. And that's where the dialogue happens. But,
those things can be done organically too. I mean, it's one of those, there's no reason that, like, I don't think right now we're in a position where any of the writers in Hollywood right now trust us to just be accepting of something that's written well. If you want to put a gay character in something, write it well, make it make sense. And
nobody cared. Nobody cared about the sexuality of the character. We just wanted a good story.
Yeah, well, and it goes back to what you're saying. It's like, if you say, okay, well, it doesn't really make sense to make Superman gay, but maybe we can introduce this other character that builds a relationship with Superman, and then this happens or whatever, and then organically bring that into the story so it makes sense. That's not what's happening. We're just shoving it to the forefront, and if you don't like it, then you are a certain type of way. And it can be done. They're just choosing not to.
And it's not just sexuality, and I'm not just picking on this movie. It's also the Rings of Power. It's also Star Wars, guys. It's also Star Trek. Speaking of which, Lyle Hammock, $2, thank you, brother, says, well, Star Trek is baseline by now, so It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, what made original Star Trek, TNG, especially Deep Space Nine, even Voyager, despite Voyager being very derivative of earlier TNG and Deep Space Nine and Enterprise, all those stories were written to talk about a particular issue, and the issue was also revolved around the characters. The characters were written to be believable. Like, they're out in space. I mean, even though the current Trek doesn't want to admit this, it's military. You're in space. It's infinitely more hazardous than being on the ocean. Like, any single little thing can go wrong. You have to follow orders so that everyone lives. I mean, a tiny little thing can kill everybody. I mean, it's that dangerous, especially when you're going out to the unknown.
That's the thing that Star Trek Discovery, I didn't make it halfway through the first episode, but I have lived vicariously hearing other people's
the critical
episode summaries, including Drinker and Nerdrotic.
Yeah, the critical Drinker put it best when he says Star Trek Discovery is basically children or teenagers in space, because that's basically what it is. It's like a YA soap opera in space.
Yeah, it's in Max. I mean, I'm where I'm going to go with this, but imagine if you had a military organization where feelings came first and everybody cried all the time and people didn't follow orders. How well would that go?
We would not be where we are in America right now if that were the case.
It's true.
And I mean, there are moments in the military where you do need to go share that with a chaplain. That's why we have those resources. Or there are moments where you need to speak with a peer, a sergeant and a sergeant, or a captain and a captain, or something, speaking about something that they're concerned about. But when there's no, I don't want, what's the right word when you have the chain of command? Your sergeant talks to your staff sergeant, who then talks to the lieutenant, who then talks. But in New Trek, it's like the corporal is talking to the colonel, and he's going, "You listen here, colonel," and it's like, whoa. That would never,
especially in Strange New Worlds. Like, Pike is in command, so we have Anson Mount playing Captain Pike. Now, I remember Captain Pike was the original captain in The Cage, which was the very first pilot of the original series. So before
that was such a crazy episode too. That scared the hell out of me as a kid. But
with the Telosians, with the big brains creating the illusions and stuff. Now, Jeffrey Hunter played the original Pike. If you don't know Jeffrey Hunter, he played Christ in the epic film King of Kings, and of course in a whole bunch of westerns. So Jeffrey Hunter plays a very stern and very damaged Captain Pike in that episode. And he talks to the doctor, and the doctor is kind of like his bartender, Dr. Boyce, who was the basis for Dr. McCoy eventually. So in this case, he's basically trying to, in that episode, he was trying to like build back his, like, he doesn't want to stay in Starfleet. He encountered something very, traumatizing that killed members of his crew, and he was damaged.
Yeah.
But when he was commanding, everybody was like, yes, sir, no, sir. And he did not get any back talk. And anyone that back talked, they were disciplined.
Yeah.
Anson Mounts Pike in Strange New Worlds, like that one helmsman, Lieutenant Ortegas, she just back talks every opportunity, and the writers think it's funny, and it's not. It's just cringe. And the same with like a lot of the other female characters, like especially Lon Noonien Singh, who is a descendant of the toxic Khan Noonien Singh. Remember Wrath of Khan? That guy?
Sure.
Well, and it's just it's so cringe. I'll just say it's so cringe. And I'm like Pike, or I'm like, Anson, come on, step your game up. You're the captain.
Yeah. I mean, Max,
you have to discipline them.
Max, when you went through OCS and then all of your real world learning in dealing with, the enlisted guys, what would it do to morale if someone like a private or corporal could come up to a captain and basically chew their ass out? How would that work? How much? I mean, what would be the damage at a high level if that was just allowed within? I know the Marines is a separate and a very unique culture, but you can put that from even to the Coast Guard. No disrespect to the Coast Guard and the Air Force. Why is that not allowed? Like at a high level, why shouldn't that happen?
Well, it would, the great thing about it is that it goes across, like you said, all branches, but also it can transfer into fantasy and sci-fi, because the negative part about it is that if you have that insubordinance towards, an officer or a leader, imagine if someone were to come up to Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings and go, "You're not king," or something. Like, I'm making the rules now.
You're just a cis white heteronormative whatever, and we need more representation. And here in Gondor,
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, to go back to the original series, I mean, like there was an episode where Kirk went through a transport agreement. He was split into two characters. He's split into this negative and a positive form. The negative form had all the the command, the command presence, whereas the positive version had just all the compassion, the intellect, and there was a point where he was going to tell the crew what was going on with him, and Mr. Spock is like, you cannot say this to the crew. You can't not be anything less than perfect.
Yes.
If they see anything less, they lose faith and you lose command.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going with that. The morale, and then also the faith and leadership to immediately follow orders.
Yeah, and then there was a moment in The Next Generation, I believe it was Gambit Part 2, where Data was in command of the Enterprise and Worf was the second in command. And Worf disagreed with a course of action that Data was going to take. And Worf said something under his breath, but he said he said it out loud in front on the bridge. So Data pulls him into the ready room and says, he literally admonishes Worf. He's like, once I make a command decision, you're expected to obey. You can speak out, but once I make my decision, you have to follow it. And then Worf's like, I'm sorry, I should have known this, and it won't happen again. And then Data's even like, hey, I might have jeopardized our friendship. And Worf's like, no, you didn't. I did. So it's moments like that that really baffle me. Like, it's like they don't. It's like, I know the writers don't watch TNG or the original series or any of the old stuff, because if they did, they would know.
I'm gonna jump on this from Harley Dave, and he says, if you don't follow the chain of command, or if you have peons disregarding orders, it destabilizes unit cohesion. And it just jumped on me. Oh, what did he say? I'm sorry, I missed it. I cannot
Which
find it.
Which will result in people dying in mission failure. Hello, by the way.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, agreed. And that's where I was going with that, Max. And I don't mean to put you on the spot with those things, but there's a reason why the people with all, the 3 up, 3 down on their arm get to tell the guys with 1 bar or 1 stripe what to do. And the guys with train tracks or stars or eagles, why they're in those roles. And it is not because they have privilege. It's because they earned it. And
because I knew kind of where you were going with that conversation, because like Nerdporeal, like Harley, like all of our military guys and girls have said in the chat, Roman and Shield Wall, Flaccid, all these guys that have been talking about good order and discipline and what that does to a leader. Kind of where I was going with that Aragorn thing is, if someone were to speak up against Aragorn or speak towards him in a demeaning manner, or to try and challenge his leadership in front of people, I guarantee you everyone in that army against the Black Gate would be more hesitant
to
fight for him.
Yes.
And that's the thing that's so troubling. Yeah.
That's exactly where I knew you were going to go with it. And I agree, or what do you do if it was out there with Theoden? Being outnumbered and having to race into the elements, and somebody saying, we can't do this, we're all gonna die, I'm not following you, nobody cares about your fifis, do your job.
And in the face of certain death, he's not screaming victory on those fields, he's screaming death, because they know they're in for certain death, and his men are with him anyway, because they know they are fighting for their leader, they're fighting for Middle Earth, for something greater than themselves. And only a few would probably come up and go, excuse me, actually, I don't think what you're doing here is good.
Well, that's why in those fantasy sort of aspects, anybody doing that is probably executed on the spot if they're completely disregarding, just boom, done. Okay, anybody else got a problem? Because this is what we're doing, right?
Remember Game of Thrones? Jon Snow in season 5. What's his name? Janos Slynt. He orders Janos Slynt to go to Greyguard to rebuild the outpost. He's like, shove it up your bastard ass. So, what is he? He's like, Jon Snow's like, are you disobeying an order? Bring the sword. And then they thought they were going to fight, but nope. He just goes. They put him on a board, and he just beheads him. I was like,
you have to, or you just, as it's already been said, if that's not done, then you just lose complete, organization, and then faith in your commander is just whittled away. And just like, well, if they can, if they don't have to go fight, I don't have to go fight either. I don't want to go die, and then you got no armor.
Yeah. Let me get to these super chats. This is from Psycho Dwarf 9. Hail to you. Great to see you. For $5 says med study, 24% of progressives are on clinical are clinical and on head meds. Yeah, it's true. Are medicated, and it shows. Yeah, we have to be really careful about talking about this on YouTube, but that is real data. It is absolutely real data, and it does show. It shows in the entertainment. I think it shows in other things on the streets too. Let me get into the next one. Comes from the one, the only Flaccid Phoenix, Mr. 2K himself. Zaxx, when are you going to catch up, dude? Been slacking off over there in Canada.
Never.
You're never going to catch up. So for $2, he says, don't listen to Max. He hasn't even seen Top Gun 2. I will allow you to retort, Mr. Selkies.
Of course, I haven't seen it. It's a Navy movie or something. I don't know. They're just they're just our taxi, dude. Come on.
Yeah. They just give you rides places.
Yeah, right. Hey, Roman's gonna kill me now that he heard me say that. But no, I honestly I hear fantastic things about it. It's patriotic. It's masculine. It's heroic. It's got a great story. So yeah, I've heard nothing but fantastic things. Congrats, by the way, to everyone who is part of it for breaking $1 billion on in the box office. So I really can't talk bad about it, except for jokingly, of course. So
I was really happy they didn't pull Jake Maverick on us.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. So that is an excellent segue to one of the articles I wanted to cover tonight. And of course, I was busy reading it, so I want to pull this up. And the fascinating thing is that it would appear that Elvis and Top Gun Maverick are pretty much tied for first place this past weekend with about 31 million apiece. I wonder when the narrative that they're trying to push in the box office reality of failure after failure after failure after not making any money will catch up with some of these studios. And where I'm going with that is, here we have two movies that are quintessentially Americana. They are. Elvis, of course, going back to the 50s, you know, arguably the still the most legendary rock star ever to exist. That I saw this movie with Purple Valkyrie. We're probably going to talk about it on her show with spoilers tomorrow, but I will say this, it was an absolute triumph and a magnificent cinematic experience. If you don't know Elvis, if you don't like his music, it probably you might have a tough time resonating with it, but if you like Baz Luhrmann, you will love this movie. The actor, and I forget his name. He actually was it Austin somebody? Who remembers the name of the actor from the Shannara Chronicles?
Austin Butler.
Austin Butler. I literally in this movie didn't see the actor. I saw Elvis. So for what it's worth, I recommend it. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but then the other part of the Americana is, of course, Top Gun Maverick. The first Top Gun came out in 1986. Legendary, classic moments, an amazing soundtrack. Here we are, 2 movies, again, tied for number 1. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's just interesting. I mean, I think what you're saying, I mean, you can't hide behind the box office anymore and all the things that were keeping people away from going, you know, that narrative is sort of being blown up on its head. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody thought Maverick was going to lose money. It had been pushed back so many times. You know, Tom Cruise is crazy. It's who wants to see a Top Gun? It's how many years removed, and now it's breaking $1 billion. Then you got, you know, Elvis, which, you know, to be honest, I didn't even realize it came out because it wasn't advertised, at least here, very heavily. I mean, 30. That's a pretty darn good showing for something that wasn't advertised very much, at least for me. I don't know how it was for you guys, but something that wasn't advertised a lot, and it's, you know, basically a biopic again, you know, which don't usually make a lot of money. So I mean, they're gonna, you know, it's either, you know, something wrong with us, that's why we're not seeing it, or there's some reason keeping people out of the cinema. I don't think that's going to fly that much longer because it's just not. It's now, you know, concrete evidence that it's not really true.
We'll get into it. It's in this article. They're still using the narrative around the COOF as why another movie failed utterly this weekend. Max, what do you think about this? I mean, I'm sure at some point you will see Top Gun 2. Is Elvis something that you are interested in? Do you like Baz Luhrmann, or are you kind of like, eh?
Well, I will say on the point of you talking about the COOF here and with movies and stuff, that's also why a certain comic book publishing company will not be, well, allegedly, and we'll get to that later, but that's what they're trying to say, which, as Prophet of the Dragon so kindly said, that's not going to fly anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing passes, you know, our cards being shown places, we're seeing masks are being worn places, so that's not going to fly. As far as your question about Baz Luhrmann, I believe his name is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
He's the director, is that correct, or is that the actor who plays in? Okay.
No, he's the director. He also did Moulin Rouge. You guys help me. What other movies? He does these very fantastic, generally
Romeo
musical.
and Juliet.
Thank you. And then also, I think that Australia, I don't know. He did another one, but he's it's a very stylized way of directing, and it's usually involves music. So
he did the one with Wolverine too.
Yes, that's the Austria one. Yeah, it was like
okay,
Austria. Yeah, Australia, something like that. Yeah, it was another musical with Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Oh,
but I just didn't know if it was your scene or not, Max.
Max, stop this pretending you don't know musicals thing. Like, enough already, dude.
Hey, you know what? You guys can take my man card. But Jersey Boys on Broadway and Last Showman. My Last Showman or something like that.
Greatest Showman. That was Baz Luhrmann.
Greatest Showman.
That's Baz Luhrmann.
Was it? Okay. Well, it was also Hugh Jackman, so I kind of had an affinity for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, so yeah, like I said, take my man card or whatever. But those were good. Another one with Hugh Jackman was The Man from Oz. That's another one I think was. I think that was another Broadway show. But anyway, as far as Baz Luhrmann goes, I can't say I've seen enough of his stuff to say one thing or another. But from what I've heard from Film Threat, Flaccid's boss, is that he was praising the movie and saying that for those who hadn't seen any Elvis performances, that they really were able to get that feel of like what it would be like at a live concert. And for me, that is cool. Because music is so powerful. So
that is entirely accurate, Max. And like I said, I literally forgot that it was Austin Butler. I thought it was a young Elvis, and again, I'm coming back to this thing of the movies that are doing well seem to be the very thing that they say is toxic and is istophobe. It's really interesting. And why I say that is that if we go further down into this, they say that Elvis was a newcomer this past weekend, as well as Universal Blumhouse thriller The Black Phone, and then there was Maverick, Top Gun, as well as Jurassic World Dominion. Those were in the 1 through 4 spots. With a 5th movie, Disney Pixar's film Lightyear, only 17 million. So, and let's see here. There's an interesting statement in this that I want to get to. And in 5th place, Disney's Lightyear earned only $17.7 million, which is this is of course Variety, which is a decent result for a family film in COVID times.
Oh, Jesus.
But apparently in COVID times, you can easily make a cool 31 or 300 million or whatever it is for you can make $1 billion with Top Gun.
$1 billion for Spider-Man too, and that was in December.
Yeah. Well, did you guys? One thing I saw too is you guys are gonna think I'm lying. They're re-releasing Doctor Strange.
What?
In the Multiverse of Madness.
Why?
With more footage. Exactly.
Didn't make any money. I mean, they wanted the Spider-Man numbers and didn't even get close to that. Yeah.
Maybe this time. Maybe more footage is all the movie needed to draw it together, guys. It's a true story.
Yeah.
It's a true story. Anyway, I wanted to bring this thing up because to me the narratives are getting so ridiculous, and you can have Variety run through all the numbers and they talk about how Top Gun made $1 billion and Elvis is crushing it and tied for first place. And then in 3 paragraphs later, they're like, well, because it's COVID times, that's why gay Buzz Lightyear didn't do well.
Yeah.
Which is odd too, because if we look at Northman, because we were looking at Northman and we were like, dude, only $20 million.
I know.
That's so low. And I was looking at that going, Northman's in trouble, man. Only 20 million, blah, blah. And then I'm looking at Lightyear at 17, which is lower. And it is a huge property. I mean, for me, Buzz Lightyear was Toy Story. That's why I watched Toy Story.
For a lot of people. For a lot of people. Yeah. That's why they made it, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why they thought they had that fan base already established. Because that's what Disney is doing. They're just taking already established fan bases and creating new content
with agenda.
Right.
For
what they think is a fan base.
I have 2 things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to read Thad's member chat, which is very on topic right now. So if I read it now, it'll make more sense. He's saying he's a Tavern, so thank you, Thad, /Unbearable73. He says, a case can be made that Elvis fandom is comparable in size and fervor to the Lord of the Rings. If they made a movie that was disrespectful to Elvis, I think worldwide Elvis fans would be out for blood.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree. I have 2 pieces of business, then I'll let you guys respond to this. The first thing is that the one and the only purple Valkyrie finally got home. She let me know after being trapped in Madrid and then trapped in Heathrow. And then anyway, she's finally home. So thank God for that. The second piece of business is the one, the only, the crazy, beautiful madman that is Codenomics. He's giving us $20. And he says, in quotes, insert witty and thought-provoking comment on the current state of movies and politics here, unquote. Hail to you, Codenomics. It was great meeting you at the meetup. I look forward to seeing you again. You give great hugs in a very hetero way. I appreciate it, and you're funny as heck. So, you met Codenomics too, Max.
Hell yeah.
Good dude.
I got him a drink. He got me a drink. I almost gave him a piggyback ride. It was a great night. So,
yeah. What did I miss, Zaxx? You just popped something out. Go ahead. This is for Lyle. Did you want to take it?
No.
Okay. This is from Lyle Hammock for $5. He says, I wish I could talk back to my platoon sergeant like that, or my first sergeant like they do in Star Trek Discovery, in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. These people, idiots.
Yeah. Every time I see that, it just cringe. It's just like it takes me out of the episode. Not that there's much episode to begin with. Like I'm just bored with the cardboard characters, the magical solutions, and it's just and the acting. The acting's not the best on some of the actors too. So,
you know, Max, you brought up something about a certain company that wasn't going to be at a certain place, and I am trying to I have 8 million things open as usual. All right, there we go. So this is the most recent information I could find on this, and this is Comic-Con. The big push in this article, of course, is that Warner Brothers is going, the DC is not going to show up, but Warner Brothers is going to be there. I am handing this to you, my comic expert friend, to discuss. Why is DC not coming to Comic-Con other than nobody's buying their comics?
So yeah, what we're seeing here is what I believe the merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery, and Zaslav, who is this new CEO, is trying to save the company $3 billion. So he's doing everything that he possibly can to either cut costs or try and save money wherever he can. And obviously, they do not see a point in being at the San Diego Comic-Con, which is arguably the biggest Comic-Con for North America. Every single year they have it in San Diego. And so, yeah, it's a big hit for DC, but I think Zaslav is hedging his bets. Is that the correct phrase that I'm looking for?
That's the correct term, yeah.
And he's just trying to say, listen, we have movie previews that will play in the movie theaters, like you saw, Salty, when you watched Elvis. We have trailers that we can play on YouTube. We have Twitter. We have Facebook. We have all this stuff that we can promote. Why do we need to spend $25 million on this booth that we always put up every year just for people to walk right past it and not even look at it when our biggest seller is Batman and we can't even sell Batman comics? So I think that is where his thought process is coming from. And because Zaslav is such a businessman first and foremost, he's not a creative, he is going to cut costs anywhere he can. And we're starting to see that with this new move.
Well,
do you think if DC was marginally profitable that this would still be happening, considering how big their presence was and how, when the Justice League was there and the Watchmen appeared for signings in the past? Do you think if these guys could even break even, that maybe this would be different? Or what's your read on this, Max?
Oh, that's such a good question, man. Because yeah, like we have like the Snyderverse that kind of tears people in two. You have like a lot of different people who will say yes or no as far as like whether they enjoyed it or not. But then Joss Whedon came in and kind of even tore more of the Snyderverse apart. So even with all that backlash from the films, that's mainly like what you would see at that booth. You would see costumes, you would see, like you said, the actors that would be walking around, maybe doing signings. You'd see a lot of the props and the behind the scenes stuff like at the DC booth. So I don't even know if that would be able to bring people to the booth anymore, because the movies really aren't doing as well as they would hope either. So it's like, not only are the comics kind of not as great, but even the movies now are, well, the shows, we can forget about the shows. A couple weeks ago, if you guys saw our reaction to the, what was it, Gotham Knights?
Nights. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you guys haven't, well, go ahead and watch that live stream. Go back on the Salties channel, watch that, because it's hilarious.
It's a bit ironic that the comic book company isn't going to be at Comic-Con, but you got Game of Thrones and Sandman. I mean, Sandman's comic book, right? So, but I mean, it's pretty obvious that you got the the Netflix show coming out. Game of Thrones needs to work, or HBO's not gonna want to do anything with them anymore. So it's but it's just sort of crazy that the Comic-Con isn't gonna have the comic book. It's crazy.
I'm gonna kick this out to every. Oh, go ahead, Max. I heard you. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it is pretty sad and ironic that at the Comic Con the comic company isn't there, but Comic Con for the past probably probably 5 or 7 years has been more of like entertainment con because
Yeah.
they even had like the Vikings show people come out there. Vikings has nothing to do with comic books, but it's like pop culture, so
Mhm.
uh Comic Con is definitely more involved in pop culture now. And I guarantee, even Salty, when you and I were in Texas, a lot of the fans that were dressing up were Star Wars and anime and manga, very little
Yes.
comic book
Yes.
characters. So
I did you see that Superman, the guy who looked like Superman? He looked really good. That
I
was like
think,
day
yeah.
2, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you did see that. You did see it, but it was like maybe half of a quarter of percent. Most of it was like
Mhm.
Max said, Lord of the Rings, like 80% was anime. Get real,
Yeah.
and then like 5% was Lord of the Rings, and then you had your smattering, you had your Warhammer 40K, like that big blue robot which rocked, and then some other random things that were out there, but like in unfortunately random thing meaning Star Wars now, but it was overwhelming majority was anime, and what I was going to say was there are a lot of people reading comic books or manga. Maybe I should differentiate between that. They're not reading Marvel or DC floppies. They want good comic books. But it is weird. It's Comic Con, and yes, we know, like big presences, but Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, always, in the cons over the last couple of years. Although Doctor Who is dead. Let's be honest about it. But it's just I look at this and it's is this, I don't know, it's conjecture, but do we think that there are starting to be consequences, and I hate that word, but consequences from a financial standpoint, or some like an adult is in charge now and they're like, hey, we can't just keep spending money on your little pet agenda projects. We've got to make some money for our shareholders. I mean, do we think that's part of it? And I'll kick that out to anybody who's on the panel. What do you guys think? And hail to Snowdub, by the way. Hail, brother.
Hey, what's up, Snowdub?
What's the name of that company it's responsible for investing? I forget, what was the name of that company? That was that investment firm that invests
BlackRock?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, isn't the reason why they're making that stuff because that fund that firm just keeps putting money, throwing
ESG scores.
You're throwing
ESG
money
scores.
into it, and they're and they're so filthy rich that they can just keep doing it, and profit is not a factor, I guess.
I mean, DC's in trouble big time too, because Aquaman 2's screwed because of the whole AH situation. Ezra Hurd is still, or Ezra Miller is still on the fucking run, so Flash is canceled. So that's like, I mean, what, a few $100 million just flushed away because they're not doing that.
More
movie
than
anymore.
that. More than that, though. I mean, like, seriously, they reshot that Flash movie already.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you they reshot Aquaman 2. And that's sunk cost and money. And they got loans to make those movies. So not only was that money put in there, they're paying interest on the money that they got to make these films.
Well,
sorry, I just wanted to bring that up because it's important.
I think it speaks volumes that they're not going to be at Comic-Con because Aquaman 2 is on the horizon. I mean, and the Flash should have been, but it's gone now. So the fact they have no faith, they have no expectation of getting a return on either of those movies. So the fact that they think the bad press that would have come along with having any Aquaman type panel at Comic-Con, they just said, we don't want to deal with that. We're just going to highlight these other two. We're not going to do any DC stuff. We're just going to hope people forget that our DC properties are freaking train wreck. Not the movie side, not just the comics.
So is that why is that why they're not going to be there, because of the whole Amber Heard and Ezra Miller being taken over the news and stuff?
I would not doubt that is a contributing factor, like absolutely, because Steve, I don't know if you subconsciously said this or if you actually meant to say this. I'll say that you actually meant to say this, because you said the Flash is gone, and I go, in my head I go, yeah, Ezra Miller, people can't find him. He is gone. He's gone.
He's gone.
We don't know where he is.
I'll take
literally
credit.
yeah. So literally, good writing, good wording. Flash is gone. We don't know where he is. He's got such this dark past following him. Amber Heard is now in the news about with all this stuff. So I think, yeah, Zaslav said, listen, the two people that represent our company the most right now in pop culture and media are both on the hit list. Why would we think about even going, like, why would we even talk about the notion of even showing up to this place? So yeah, it's that's definitely a factor for sure.
It's just like when Game of Thrones ended and like Dan and Dave didn't show up to Comic-Con because they would have heck, even Seth Rogen gave him shit for that. Remember that? Remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Who did they leave? They left Brands actor, Varys, and a few others. They had to take the heat for that. So
yeah. Jamie's actor, I think, was the one that I always forget his name, was the one that was sort of out front and center, I feel like. But yeah, I remember that. That was a circus. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Ezra ran so fast. He went back in time, just like the Flash. He's gone. Yeah, you're right. He's gone.
The thing that's scary about this too is, like, for people who are like collecting comics or whatever, this may mean that Zaslav is, this is just one step in the multiple steps of him either taking away floppies altogether, which means no physical copies of comic books for DC published, to where they're only going digital, or they cut down on all their staff and all their editors and all their titles, to where they're coming out with like a Superman book or a Batman book like once every few months. They make it like a hardcover book, and then they say, here you go. So that's also something that we could be seeing, is if he really doesn't see any profit coming from DC Comics, he's going to wipe that thing out, because he is, like you said, Salty, he's a big boy. He is a big business guy. He is someone who is going to come in there and put his foot down and go, I'm not playing around here, guys. Like, y'all have had years to deal with this. And so now Dad's here to take charge,
Yeah. And you're going to get your ass spanked, to quote Tropic of Thunder. But Manowar 665 is right. Actual real life return on investments are coming due in the current shit economy. Changes are quietly afoot. You can bet that's what's happening. I mean, look what Netflix did. I know that what I find interesting is they're cutting off several hundred people like every couple weeks. You notice that? And then it's only in the news cycle for a day or two, and then they let off, another couple more hundred, and then it's in the news cycle for a couple days. So I wonder when the bloodbath at a place like Netflix is going to begin. What's also interesting in this article, and then we'll go off of it, is that the CW, I know this is going to shock you, there's several CW series, including The Flash, Superman and Lois, and the upcoming Supernatural prequel, will also not be at Comic-Con. Now, I was never the biggest fan of Supernatural. I think it's a cool show, but how many seasons did that run? What was it, 16?
15,
and the fact
16.
that you're
15.
Thank you. Yeah. The fact that you're launching this Supernatural prequel in it being arguably, I guess, the cleanest rhinestone in your harlot tiara that is the CW lineup. I mean, you'd think that they'd want to at least have those guys there on a panel or something like that. It's weird. It's just very strange.
Well, I mean, CW's heavily connected to DC too, so maybe they're thinking about that. I don't know. It's Ezra screwed up the Flash show too, right? I mean, it's like anything Flash is tainted.
Yeah. Well, and there are more DC films due out this year, including the DC League of Super Pets. That is an animated movie about the pets of superheroes. Black Adam, which actually had an interesting looking trailer. And then, of course, I think that is a Shazam sequel. So, none of those DC movies really appealed to me. And the Aquaman movie didn't really appeal to me because I was bored by the first one. And, and then the Flash movie, let's be honest, the only reason I was going to go see that is to make content for my channel.
Didn't the petition to remove Amber Heard get like up to 3 to 4 million or something?
I thought it was 5 million.
Was it 5 million now? Holy crap!
Yeah.
I didn't.
It was like
more than Game of Thrones one.
I think it was at 3 before the trial ended, and then as soon as the trial ended, it like jumped to 5 million. It's unreal. It is unreal.
Yeah. I think that's like 10 times the amount of people that actually saw Disney's Lightyear, which is
I think you're right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what's funny too is there's an article out there talking about the DC booth not being there, and like right underneath it says, well, the DC booth not be there, but our bags still are. Get your exclusive bag, sign, like with new Jim Lee artwork. And it's not, we were looking at it the other day, and it's like Aquaman, Shazam, Black Adam, and the Supergirl with the black hair and the short black hair and that like weird costume that we saw.
That's the Flash suit. Is that the Flash Supergirl you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the superheroes on the front of the bags, and I was just like, "What?" So it's a disaster. It's almost it's funny at this point, but
all I need to see was it's a Gundam's take on Black Adam. I was good. I'll watch his review.
Hail to you, Purple Valkyrie. We are glad you are finally back home, and thanks again for hanging out, meeting all of us at the Fan Expo, and then for hanging out with you. You're pretty awesome. If you're not subscribed to Purple Valkyrie, give her a subscription. She is a fantastic creator on this platform.
I was curious really quickly that since we're still talking about DC, I was curious if Babylon 5, they're going to like bring any more information about Babylon 5, because they're going to be remaking Babylon 5 for CW of all channels. So
abandon all hope, ye who
and I
here.
love Babylon 5.
Man.
Like that is a space opera, if you wouldn't believe. Like it's got everything. It's got everything you'd want in it. And like if Star Wars was more character based and takes place in a single location, that'd be it. Like it has villains. It's got great characters.
I want to interrupt you for a second to point out that everyone loves Purple Valkyrie, and welcome back.
Oh, yeah. I was noticing that too.
The chat's blowing up. Everyone loves Purple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Glad you're safe.
Yeah. It is awesome to watch. It is, we content creators, especially those of us who got, who got to meet each other. Max, you've talked about it. I've talked about it. It's wild to see someone that you've only ever seen like on a screen, and then see them in real life and have them do the exact same thing in real life in front of you. Their mannerisms and their weirdness and everything. And it's cool. It's just cool. So,
it's funny because I actually met Max before I ever knew he had I don't even know did you even have a channel by the time by last year's Las Vegas?
I think I had 2 videos published on the channel.
Yeah,
maybe not even that. But you had an already established channel because people were going, "Oh, it's the Nerdporeal," like when they were meeting you. So and then I think you gave me your card, and yeah, man, it was pretty rad. I was like, man, this guy's big time.
Got a card, man.
I wasn't even 1,000 at that point. So
we're getting an interesting. I'm getting an interesting comment from Matt, Unbearable73. He says, JMS is traditionally very lockdown mode about Babylon 5. He literally fired anyone from the original production that spilled info. So I doubt we will hear anything until JMS speaks about it.
That sounds
I'm going to
right.
roll out. Is that, yeah. I mean, I remember how it was, but this also is 2022,
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously very left. He's still very left wing, but like when with the original Babylon 5, like it was all written and laid out. Heck, he even had emergency, like he had what do you call it? Like because the main character, the commander, the original commander from season 1 had to leave or left the show. So he had to rewrite it. He had to create a new character. So he had like fallout plans for like if actors needed to leave and stuff. It was like he wrote the whole thing before they even went to production. So, but I'm gonna say something that's unpopular and people might disagree with me on this. But he gave Paramount. He went to shop for people to help make the show. He went to Paramount with his Bible, about a show that takes place on a space station. And they had it for like about roughly a year. And well, let's just say a couple of years later, the show called Deep Space Nine just emerges out of nowhere.
Coincidence. Let's just be a coincidence.
They're both great shows. Both of them. Watch both of them.
They are
amazing.
They are. I have a member chat from the Thad That Shouldn't Be, who is one of my Taverans, says a case can be made that Elvis fandom. Oh wait, we already did this.
Yeah,
one.
did that one.
Okay, I'm confused why it popped up. Sorry. Never mind. Stream brain. Yeah, let me get to this other article, and this one we're going to we're going to talk about this for exactly 5 minutes because there are other people who will flog this horse mercilessly. I'm going to start with you on this, Steve, even though you were obscured. What do you think about? Is this a shock to anyone?
No,
that good old Bobby Chapek got his contract extended.
Well, I think
it's
it's not it's a different form of entertainment, but similar things happening with Blizzard. I mean, their CEO, who's made a mess of their whole company, is signed on for another year at least. So why would Disney be any different? So, it's the status quo at this point. He's where he is. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy got re-upped. I mean, who's not going to get re-upped if she got re-upped? I mean, it's not surprising at all. I think it was sort of a foregone conclusion.
How long was her contract extension for? Was it another 3
years? I think hers was
2020. So 2025.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if she's not fired, who is? I mean, she single-handedly destroyed, Star Wars. Well, I shouldn't say single-handedly.
You have to blame also Bob Iger and J.J. Abrams.
I walked that back a little. Didn't single-handedly, but. I don't know. It's one of those. I don't think anybody found this to be a surprise. I think it was just sort of like
Iger did not give them enough time to develop a new story. Like he only gave them 3 years from the moment that they bought Lucasfilm, and it took George Lucas at least 5 years to develop the original film and where to go and the direction that the story was going to go in. Same with the prequel trilogy.
I agree with that in principle. However, Lucas did hand them a full outline and story. What did you do, Zaxx? What are you doing?
A new view. There we go.
Oh my God! What's happening in my chat?
No, I get what you're saying, Nerdporeal, but they had stuff handed to them, just like Salty said. 3 years should be plenty of time to come up with one movie and a framework for what you want to do with two sequels. I think.
Yeah. What do you think, Zaxx? I mean, there are a number of diverse opinions. We'll just say that among the larger channels about Disney. Is Disney saved? Is Disney not saved? Is Chapek is a hero? Chapek is actually a Judas goat. What do you think about this?
I heard all the talk when he first took over that it was going to be more like what David Zaslav is trying to do with Warner, where he was going to be more fan focused and cost cutting without the waste. And I haven't really seen that, and I've seen him make some really bad decisions, like the backing the wrong bill and publicly when just stay out of it, Disney, no matter what your 8 employees think about it. So he's made some really bad moves that I'm surprised he made, and so he's either getting bad advice or whatever other people say who are, because he's an accountant, who are accountants have said that they're not used to making those kinds of decisions, and they're used to not making quick decisions, that they can read a situation over time and then anticipate change, not just be reactionary. So it's not a great spot for him to be in. Why do they renew him? I think that just because they're going to, I don't know, what's that saying? Don't change horses midstream. I think they're going to play this one out a bit longer. Either let him completely drown himself or pull them up a bit. Either way, if they fire him and he sucks, then they look good regardless. So they're going to let him hang himself a bit.
One thing I heard about Chapek was he was the money guy. He was going to trim the fat out. And everybody was talking about how he was cheaping out on the parks and everything was getting smaller and more expensive. And like some people have talked about in this chat, the economy is not going to get any better anytime soon. So you're going to have this guy who's used to chopping heads and, giving you half of what you got for twice the price with a smile on his face, and I have no empathy for this guy. I don't like any of this at all, especially what Disney has done. But boy, they're sure hitting those ESG scores, aren't they? They're sure getting all that stuff there. Not making any money, but they're getting those ESG scores.
Do you think that it may be like something of along the lines of, keep your enemies close? Like they know Bob and they can feel like they work him like a puppet maybe at times. Yeah. And they can say, hey, we're going to go with this thing now, or we're going to go with this trend, or we're going to get this update or whatnot, as opposed to firing him and getting someone new who might not be able to fall in line like that. Or is like, do you guys see that happening at all? Or do you think that he is running the show? Because I don't know the hierarchy at Disney.
I mean, things were supposed to change, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, he took over and nothing's changed. At least it doesn't seem like on our level. So,
Yeah.
whether he's just sort of like, I think for a lot of what I heard was he's just sort of, Iger's fall guy, and he's just lasted longer than everybody thought, I guess, because nothing's really changed. They're not making more money. They're still making the same crap, and maybe it is a control. Hey, we got a guy that doesn't really know entertainment. He knows numbers. Let's just ride him till he bucks us, and firing somebody, is also, you're firing your CEO is a sort of an admission that something's wrong.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
maybe they just want to let it
exactly
get worse and worse and worse before they go, okay, well, it's his fault. And then, sort of like what you guys were saying.
And this is why I put the Disney stock price up, because imagine if you didn't renew Chapek, this would probably fall to $50, because stability is more important than productivity and profitability.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it works. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but Disney was at $186 last year on September 9th. That was the high. The low was just last week at $93. Now that works out to an average of $150 over the last calendar year. Why that is relevant is this number right here. How do you get out of that? You have to have profitable movies. You have to have movies with big box office draws. Obviously, they thought the gay Buzz Lightyear was going to be their home run, and they were wrong. So, yeah, we got Chapek. I mean, I guess this to me is like, it's a tourniquet. It's a temporary thing. The thing about tourniquets is that you end up cutting all the blood circulation off, and you can't leave it on for a long time, or you have to amputate the limb because it becomes necrotic. So how long can they keep this guy in? I don't know. I don't know.
There was also that tweet a while ago that I forget which Bob had posted it, or maybe it was just Disney in general, but they were saying for the year of 2021, this is all the amazing things that we've done. And it kind of listed out like the top 5 things that they'd done. But really all it was like, one was acquiring this property, making 3 Star Wars films or whatever, revamping this property. It was nothing new. It was all either rehashes or acquiring properties or buying different, corporations and mergers. And I'm going, that's nothing there's no creative, there's nothing that is being produced. It's all being either recycled or rehashed. And that leaves this company very stagnant, which we see in that.
And to me, the reason why is because in theory, you guys tell me what you think of this. There's no risk. It's less risky than trying something new.
Yeah.
Like, you probably won't get fired for recycling the same leftovers over and over and over and over again. But you sure as hell will get tossed out of the door if you try something new and it fails.
Yeah.
Now, is that incompetence? Is that negligence? Is it cowardice? Hold on to that thought. Let me get to this super chat from a very patient Lyle Hammock for $50. He says, hey, I have 2 anime recommendations. First, is it Physical Pass?
Psycho Pass.
Okay, it is Psycho. First is Psycho Pass, an excellent sci-fi story with one of the best antagonists in fiction. And the second is Gundam Wing, the first Gundam series to make it into the West. It's an excellent story of war, and it is cut off.
You will thank me.
You will thank me. Well, I'll tell you what, Nerdporeal, you seem to know about the Psycho Pass since it's a sci-fi story. What's your take on that, brother?
Not seen Psycho Pass. It's basically it's like Ghost in the Shell. It takes place in it's like a cyberpunk. I think it's about thought crime. I don't remember exactly.
Okay,
it's something along those lines. But I do know about Gundam. Gundam Wing is I Gundam Wing's okay, but I've seen better Gundam. The original Gundam is much better, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. So Psycho Pass, I'm imprinting it in my brain. I'm going to check it out. So thank you very much, Lyle. It's so great to have you here. It's so great to see a lot of these same faces. It's going on 6-8 months, guys, and it means a lot to me to see my friends showing up in the chat. And of course, I get to work with, these very talented gentlemen on this panel as well. Speaking of talented gentlemen, Man of War 665 Neighbor of the Beast says for $6.65, here is my recommendation. You liked RRR. Go, oh boy, you're gonna have to help me say this, Zaxx.
Bahubali.
Go see Bahubali 1 and 2 ASAP. Also, keep Max away from your women folk. I means it. It's true. Keep your wives close and your daughters closer when Maxfield Von Priestley's sporting that tight black shirt in the hot meetup. I was there. Breaking hearts, man. Yeah.
The context behind this for chat or for anyone watching this on the replay, Man of War 665 and I had a fantastic evening in Dallas, and his wife was there and she joined us. Yeah, you buy drinks for everyone, and that's all I'll say. And so, but it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate it, Man of War. You're a good dude, and you can't miss him. He always wears his Man of War T-shirt with his incredible album artwork on there. So love seeing that guy.
Yeah, this thing with Chapek, I mean, again, I'm not going to run through financials. This didn't surprise me, but I think what we were talking about was how there's nothing new. It's just acquisition and recycling and rehashing and, let's take Toy Story and then insert gender ideology into it. I mean, like what's next? Are we going to do Pinocchio with communism? I mean, like, what are we going to do? Put trans allegories in Cinderella? Or has that already been done?
Wait, we did that.
You know what I mean?
The original Pinocchio had freaking child trafficking. Remember that? They turned into they literally turned into jackets. They put them in cages and they shipped them away. And I saw that for the first time like a couple years ago as an adult, and that just gave me the heebie-jeebies. I'm like, ooh.
It was terrifying, but it's also what happens when you're a child who is not productive and you don't listen to your parents
and you run away from home.
Could you imagine? Yeah, there are bad people out there. Yeah, and there's a lot of things I want to say, but I can't. Nico Glock is in the house for $20. He says, besides a sexual harassment charge, it takes boards forever to take action on a non-performing executive. You're not wrong, brother. You and I have talked about some of this stuff. And he will jump with a diamond-encrusted platinum parachute. He will. There will be a lot of freaking zeros to that number because nobody is going to admit that he did anything wrong because those other people on the board don't want to look like they're not omniscient or weak at all. It has to look like Bob's decision and no one wants him to leave. Meanwhile, the guys like, just huge forklifts of money are being dropped off for his bringing the stock price down about half in 1 year. That's true, Nico Glock. You guys, there's one more thing I think we're going to get to tonight because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. This one comes to us from the one and only Zaxx, and it comes to us from LRM Online.
I got a better source.
You got a better source?
Yeah.
Right. What do you got?
Let's go right.
Drop it. Yeah. Drop it like it's hot. All right. There we go. Okay.
Let's go right to the source here.
All right. You're driving on this one then because I don't have the con, brother. So what are we looking at? Go ahead.
This is the exclusive leaks from the Fellowship of the Fans. This is on their Twitter page. They have a video that goes with this as well, but I'm not going to bother watching that. So these guys, keep in mind, are not shills at all. Not at all. They just get these exclusive stories and they spin them with positivity by chance.
That's not the definition of a shill, is it? I didn't think. My bad.
And I'm not going to flog this to death, but these are the guys that jacked me out of their live stream for asking legitimate questions.
Oh, so, that's right.
How dare
these
you?
These are the same guys. Yeah,
they did. So they're talking about some of the artwork here that's been shown, and they talk about the sword. So this kind of stuff is interesting, but it's not game changing. But one sneak in near the end, and they do like to sneak things in the end, of course. That's what they do over there in Fellowship of Fans. Pun intended. They dropped this in here, which I thought was interesting because,
oh God, sorry,
this has never existed in the history of the world or Tolkien ever. Period. Where you have a 50-50 split between men and women in the military, in the army. And these are Numenorians. They live for 300 years ish, so they're already very powerful. There's really no reason you have to fill your army with people who are possibly not going to be as great at it, and keep in mind are much more valuable if kept off the front lines, because women make more men and women, right?
Yeah.
So they're not expendable, which is one reason that they're not in the military, and especially in early civilizations and cultures. I'm not a biologist. I say that right now.
I was gonna ask.
Thank you for prefacing.
Yes.
We weren't
However,
sure.
this has never happened, and Tolkien did not do this.
Thank you. Yeah,
I heard about this today. They were talking, Nerdrotic and Az were talking about this, and they brought up a really good thing. They it's like in the Third Age they regressed to having all male armies on Middle Earth, and it kind of kills the impact that Eowyn had in Return of the King. I am no man.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's. I don't know.
Well, not
I'm gonna. I was just going to say, I was going to ask. No, I was going to ask you, Max, to respond to this, because I'm not a Tolkien scholar. I will never claim to be a Tolkien scholar. I have several Tolkien books behind me, including the Middle Earth Encyclopedia. I also have the Silmarillion. I have all. I have all of the things.
Which book?
The Silmarillion.
Max, I'm going to talk to you because you're not a
I love
dick.
you, Corey.
What do you think about this Numenorian representation and diversity in? Is there any basis in this at all in Tolkien? Because I don't think there is.
And I will also add to that and say that I'm not a scholar either. I am merely someone who has enjoyed Tolkien's work and enjoyed reading his world and being immersed in that. So I can't actually speak to whether this is canonical or not. I'm very, I mean, and this is where it gets wishy-washy, because nothing that I have ever read has stated this. But someone's going to come on here and say, well, I'm a scholar and I can attest to this, this and that. But for me, for what I've read and from what I've seen, I've never heard of a 50-50 Numenorian army. And the fact that these guys say it's pretty much 50-50 also worries me, because that means, pretty much, what are we talking about? Is that 60-40? Or could you really not tell? Or are they saying 50-50 just to kind of
what about the trans representation? What about the trans representation?
Yeah, where's the 10%? Yeah, where's the 10% trans at? You're right.
Well, I mean, if they could take the statement that Tolkien made about Galadriel looking at troops with the eye of a general to rationalize putting her in plate armor that looks like it's straight out of Skyrim, instead of being the feminine, incredibly powerful, but undeniably feminine archetype that she was, not just in Peter Jackson's films, but also in the books that Tolkien actually wrote. Of course they're going to do this. And it's like, no one can tell me this show is anything more than agenda. I'm going to try and refer to this show without the Lord of the Rings in front of it, because to me, this is not Tolkien. This is not Lord of the Rings. This is the Rings of generic fantasy. And I made a joke about a month ago saying, imagine if the Rings of Power is even less of a faithful adaptation than what we got with Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. I think we're teetering. At that point right now. I'm going to wait for more data, but stuff like this, I'm starting to lean towards the Rings of Power is pretty much just, it's like that LGBTQ movie we just saw. It's like, it's just loaded with commodity checkbox nonsense. It just happens to be, in what somebody put a label on a city and said, yeah, this is Numenor, or this character who's the strong, independent woman who's probably trans and whatever is Galadriel. And it has nothing to do with the actual lore.
Yeah, it comes off as inauthentic. It comes off as unbelievable. And I mean, how are you gonna grab fans if you can't even do that? All the red flags are pointing to this.
Yeah, and Max, this goes right back to your toxic fandom thing. How are we being toxic? First of all, does anyone on this panel think I'm being toxic by expressing what I am? Does anybody in chat hear something that's so inflammatory and disgusting that you have to call me a name to silence me? where do we look at something like this? Because they're going to call us toxic fans and say we're afraid of a 50% plus, strong, independent female women run army now. Like it just, how, when I look at something like this, I wonder how we can we have a dialogue around this show? It's an open-ended question, but it's not like this isn't written down. It's not like it's not within appendices. There's room for interpretation, but I don't see a lot of interpretation. I see a lot of insertion. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's frustrating because people are going to say, well, listen, they have the 50% army of men and women. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. And that's just another way for them to like silence our opinions. And that's what's so frustrating. But Nerdporeal, you had brought in something up earlier when you said it diminishes the effect of Eowyn. It also diminishes the effect of Helm's Deep, because they're trying to protect the women and children that are down below. Well, in this case, if Numenor can armor women up, why didn't they get women on the front lines of Helm's Deep? Get them in armor. Get the kids in armor. Get everyone in armor.
I mean,
it gets rid of that sacrifice that they were making.
I don't know much about like the Numenorians because I've not read anything outside of Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So all I know about the Numenorians is that they live longer, like Aragorn and stuff. So do they are they stronger? Are they stronger or something? Do they have are they more capable fighters, or are they just people that live on an island?
I believe because they are like descendants of one of the not Iluvatar himself, but like one of I forget. We need Alasia here to really.
I know. I was thinking that same thing, dude. Same thing.
They're considered the best of men.
Aren't they part Elvish too? Like they got some elvish blood in them. That's why they live longer.
I do know that they do have like physical attributes that are stronger or better than your average male or female. So, and then of course their age or whatnot. So, but that's what I know of it, and that's probably where my knowledge of that ends, though.
Zaxx, you pulled up a page, and I'm not sure out of which book this is in. If it's in the Silmarillion or if it's in a different one.
It's I believe it's in the Silmarillion. It's Aldarion and Erendris is the.
So, did you want to read the pertinence, the sentence there? Go ahead, because that tells us everything we need to know.
Yeah. So, thus it is. I can't pronounce that word. I'm not going to try. And we cannot alter it. For men, fashion Numenor, men, those heroes of old that they sing of their women we hear less, save that they wept when their men were slain. Numenor was to be at rest after war. So it's there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and what you also said, Zaxx, before is it's a shame that we're living right now in a society that thinks that women are less when they're actually more important to building a society. They're Helm's Deep here. They're the ones that make the continuation of a species possible. So those, women and children is a thing. Women and children first for a reason. Women, if you lose all, the bulk of your male forces, you can try and rebuild if you have women and children around. So it's a shame that it's seen as weak. And I feel like that's what it's like. We got to have 50-50. It's like, it's just ridiculous. I don't know.
We'll get within the span of maybe 2 to 3 months, and I'll let you go ahead and run with this, Salty, as well. But we're gonna get She-Hulk, She-Thor, and She-Galadriel, like Numenorian army. It's going to be a wild couple of months, boys. So hold on, as Samuel Jackson would say in Jurassic Park, hold on your butts, because there's going to be some stuff.
Yeah.
Or what about what Dr. Malcolm says? That's going to be one big pile of shit.
Well, I think both of those are accurate, you guys. I mean, really, let me get to this super chat real quick from Unbearable 73 from Matt. Hail to you, one of my Taverans. Says for $5. Thank you, Matt. Elendil's sword is called Narsil. Things are jumping. We know what it looks like. They must not have the rights to actually use that name. Screw this steaming pile of crap. And Matt is very passionate about Lord of the Rings. Many times I've talked to him on other people's channels, as well as the member streams, where he talked about how important fantasy was, in particular Robert Jordan, as well as Tolkien. You know, again, there are people who have a lot greater scholarship than I do. I am a fan. I've been a fan of Tolkien for a very, very long time, probably longer than most people have been alive on this panel. But it doesn't make me a scholar. It just makes me a fan. And I don't claim any special right or ownership over things that, because I just happen to be born before anyone else, to tell them how to think or what to love about Tolkien. What upsets me, and I think maybe you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is when people take the core of what it is that I loved, in a world that was built that needed nothing, that didn't need to look like when I was a kid. It didn't need to look like 1970s America with stagflation in the women's movement, and that would be second wave feminism. It didn't need to have Cold War allegories of the United States and the Soviet Union. It just needed to be Tolkien's Middle Earth, written the way that it was. The chutzpah and there's got to be a better word than narcissism as to what's happening right now. But to me, the deliberate deconstruction and cheapening of the source material when it comes to Tolkien, it's pretty undeniable, you guys. I mean, like, that's why I'm never going to call this the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power again, because this isn't, to me, the Lord of the Rings.
It's not.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it comes back to what we were talking about before. If some of these ideas, I mean, we've talked about it with the Wheel of Time stuff. If, you know, introducing some of your own stuff is going to be natural. If you're a creative person, but if it was done in a way that didn't corrupt the core story, then most fans are not going to have an issue with it. They're going to, you know, be like, okay, if this is done in an interesting way, most people are going to be accepting of it, or at least give it a shot, because everything else is how it looks or should be or sounds. So I don't know when or how we're going to get to a point where they figure out that it's okay to have your own ideas. Just don't screw up the ones that are already there. You know, use what you have, and, you know, slowly introduce some of your own things, as long as you're not ruining what you're adapting.
Yeah.
Or,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it has to make sense. If it needs to fit with everything that's come before. And that's why I'm super duper critical of, you know, I'm going to bring up new Star Trek again. Well, not new Star Trek. That's a horrible thing to say. New Trek. It just doesn't line up. And people, even fans, are wondering if they're going to reboot the original series. And that just made my head explode when I saw that. Like, would you support that? No. Was the original series not progressive enough for you? Because, I mean, Roddenberry wrote that to be progressive, but he wrote it in a way, he wrote it allegorically so that people, you know, the studios would not, you know, reject what he was doing.
You're absolutely right about the Nerdporeal, and that's the thing is what I find. And obviously, Star Trek came out before I was born. You know, I think 5 or 6 years before I was ever born.
Yeah, dinosaurs roamed the earth then too.
Kiss my ass. And so my point with all that was, oh, you dick! I totally lost my point.
I'm sorry.
No. How much work it took in the mid '60s or early '60s to have the first interracial kiss on television ever.
Yeah,
by Captain Kirk and Uhura.
Yeah.
Why, you know, we never hear about that, do we? We don't ever hear about how progressive anyone else who came before was with what they did. They're only looking at what doesn't meet their current standard of whatever. Yeah. You can put whatever you want on it. You can call it progressivism, although I think it's regressivism. But that's the real shame, is being ignorant of your history. You tend to fight battles that don't need to be fought. And I've said this before, but we're living in a time where the grievance supply does not meet the demand, and they just creating artificially more things that need to be fixed or saved or do activism for. And it's destroying, whether that's intentional or an ancillary benefit, they're destroying the very foundations of what our entertainment are, as well as, I think, our civilization. I missed a super chat, didn't I, Zaxx?
Yeah, there's a couple. I can pull them up. There's one from Daniel.
I'll get on that one.
Okay.
This is from Daniel for $5. Says, I won't play nice with people who seek to destroy what I love. I'm going to say that one again. I won't play nice with people who seek to destroy what I love. Anyone who claims a 50-50 Numenor gendered army is by definition not a Tolkien scholar and not a fan. I absolutely agree with that. And see, Max, this is where, and I don't mean to keep putting you on the spot, but your video was so cogent and timely today with this. Like, what do we do? Like, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's like I spent the day thinking about this. What do we do when we're faced with this? It's not canon. It's not Tolkien. None of this is real. How do we have this conversation? Do we just say, you know what? You're making this up and this isn't Tolkien? Or do we do something else? What do you think?
It's such a tough question, man, because, you know, as much as we would love to, you know, come to a place where, oh, George Molo in the chat, what's going on, George? And I think Purple might actually have to leave. So bye, Purple. Love you, Purple. So
Purple.
glad you got home safe. So
yes. Yeah.
Good night, Purple.
But it is, you know, it is tough because if we come to a place of understanding with ourselves and we talk about things authentically and we have open discourse, and then we bring that to a different, you know, fan group and we go, hey, you know, or even to the corporations and we go, hey, we're a little bit concerned about this thing. Could you tell us more about this? Or this thing looks to be changed and it isn't canon. Can you tell us more about this? And they don't want to have those discussions. There's nothing we can do on our end to change their actions other than either keeping our money in our pockets and not supporting that thing, or by just completely outright, like, you know, ignoring it and saying it doesn't even exist. It's not even canon. It's not Lord of the Rings, any of that stuff. I debated putting this meme in my video, but it's pretty, like, it's harsh, but it's funny. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward here. And like, you know, it's a little tongue in cheek, but basically Lord of the Rings is awesome and Tolkien was a great man. Agreed. See, yes. Everyone loves Tolkien. He's fantastic. And then we get a different fan group coming in or different corporations coming in saying that Tolkien's work is problematic. It needs to be updated to better suit my modern woke ideals. And if you disagree, you are the racist incest troll. And then, you know, and then everyone says, no, go away. And she goes, when did Tolkien fandom turn into such a toxic, hateful place? When you showed up. And it's a very simple, dumb meme, but
it's true. It's
accurate.
It's accurate. It's sad.
Yeah. And you could say it for Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, DC Comics, Marvel Comics. I mean, the list goes on. You know, the stuff that we've been watching for the last couple of years. Let me get to this next super chat, you guys, and I'm going to drop that. Yeah, thank you, Zaxx, for that. Lyle Hammock, thank you. This is a $20 super chat. He says, all right, I can't defend this. Now, this is the thing, Lyle. We all want, you know this, we all want the show to be good. We don't mean to be harshing on it. We're just expressing our own opinions. And I know you know that, but I want to say that and be respectful. He says, all right, I can't defend this, but what I think they're using is some line from Nature of Middle Earth about there being less of a difference in physical strength between men and women in Numenor, but it's completely moronic. So I get it. I get what you're saying. At the same point, you know, I do think that this is just ideology, guys. I think it's ideology. You know, showing. Hail to you, Lyle. Thank you very much.
Lyle sent us 3, and he'd like them read in order. So would you mind doing the next one?
Yeah, go ahead. So for $5 from Lyle, thank you for speaking up. All Numenorians, male and female, were taller, stronger, and had more endurance than the men of Middle Earth. That is what Amazon will claim is as justified. Aha. What's the next one?
And this is just.
Oh, you don't have to do that. And for what they did to Numenor for $2.
There we go.
Lyle, thank you. Really, thank you. And thank you for putting the thought that you do in. Every time we do a show, when we talk about Lord of the Rings, we talk about the Rings of Power. I always want to be respectful of those people who are still holding out hope, because we all want the same thing. We all literally want this to be a great show. All of us, I think, have to run it through our own fandom and say, what is it that meets the criteria of being a good Tolkien show? To me, I don't think this is, I think this is going to be a fantasy show, much like the Rings of Power was, with names that don't necessarily line up with what I read in the books, but I want to be wrong. What do you guys think about that?
I think you're dead on. I mean, not much else to say about it. I don't think it's. I mean, I think you're right. It's, starting to say. I tried from the beginning just calling Rings of Power. It's not Lord of the Rings. They don't care to make it Lord of the Rings. They just, the fact that they comb through everything with a comb to try and find a word so they can, do certain things that don't make sense. It's like, oh well, that one word. So now I can do whatever I want. So, yeah. So it's gonna be messed up.
Thank you very much, Lyle Hammock. As ever, I always appreciate your optimism, but also you're drawing in your own lore, your own scholarship, your own fandom into this to try and look on the positive side. And that is something that I think a lot of us in this creative space are starting to do. We're not here just to rage, farm, and harsh on things. I say that every show, but it's true. It's just that when things don't smell right, we're going to say they don't smell right.
Well,
so.
I want to rage farm and harsh on this for a second, because looking at this Twitter thread, it's the way that they're trying to justify this is unreal. Like the people who are responding with well, it makes sense that they could have done it this way because they lived for 300 years. So maybe they get bored of doing one job and they want to go do something else later on. Like they're saying maybe they would. That's the justification.
The art of justification. You're going to see a lot of it.
Are we deconstructing gender roles in Tolkien's Middle Earth because it works for 2022? Is that the kind of bullshit they're saying on Twitter, guys? Like,
they get bored.
They're bored. Yeah, they're bored.
They're doing the same thing as well. Number one, when they say, "Oh, they get bored," you're essentially saying that only people who have nothing in life and are just bored go into the military and serve Numenor. So,
I'm so bored
for whatever,
I'm
and
so
the other
bored
thing
being
too.
useful,
Yeah. The other thing too is that people are saying, Star Wars is doing the same thing with Obi-Wan, and everyone's been going, "Well, Star Wars has always been goofy," and it's like, no, dude,
it's always been retconned and everything. Yeah,
there are moments that are fun or whatnot, but it's also because it was that era, it was that time period where they had to use puppets or they had to use practical effects that made it a bit like not campy, but just a little bit more fun, I guess. But that moment between Vader and Obi-Wan in Empire, those are real moments. Those aren't goofy, stormtroopers hitting their head on a,
right.
Oh my
whatever.
God, Max, that's an Easter egg. That's an Easter egg, not a story point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. They feel like that one mistake that half the people that watch Star Wars didn't see is like, oh well, all stormtroopers are idiots now. It's like, come on.
I never saw that.
Well, not just
I never saw that when I was a kid.
Everyone in the Empire is an idiot now. Heck, holiday special, the Star Wars holiday special, the Empire was more menacing in that movie. And then B. Arthur.
Well, they storm Chewie's house, right?
Yeah,
they break into Chewie's house and they hold him up at gunpoint and everything. Yeah,
they were menacing. Jeez.
Let me get to I think you and I both, dude.
We did it.
Don't touch any buttons.
Salty, don't do it.
The one and only George Molo. I got to spend a good amount of time talking with him about things that had nothing to do with our fandom.
Reading your book.
And and Nerdporeal is actually reading your book. But George, it was really good to talk with you. I'm going to be reaching out to talk about the things that we did when we were there, because I very much look forward to doing that and to collaborating. So thank you. George Molo for $19.99 says, Amazon's new clip says it all. Quote, "For nothing is evil in the beginning. They will attempt to make Sauron and Melkor misunderstood bad guys. And Melkor as well. This is Rings of Rim job. No quarter. All hail Salty, MVP, and panel." There's a lot to take out of this, and thank you, George, for this $19.99 super chat. We didn't even get to this, the thing, "For nothing is evil in the beginning." I had a really hard time with this. I really did. That's like saying, well, you know what? That guy with the funny mustache in World War II, he wasn't bad in the beginning. He's misunderstood. Something gave him a reason to do all the things that they did, right?
You ever see Family Guy? You ever see the Family Guy where Hitler's at the gym and he sees the two Jewish guys? They're like they're like this, and he's like,
no, I didn't.
How
I didn't
World
see
War II
that.
started,
Yeah.
according to Family Guy.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I don't know how you can make Melkor a sympathetic character. I mean, again, I'm no Tolkien scholar, but Melkor was the bad guy that inspired Sauron, and if I remember right, what was it? Sauron then moved to an area in Mordor because that's where Melkor fell or was imprisoned or something like that. It's crazy to me. How can you sit there and say nothing is evil in the beginning?
So is Melkor based pretty much off the devil, if I remember correctly? Is he based off of Satan? Or is
he's a bad dude.
Okay.
Go ahead, Max.
I mean, they could do the John Milton thing and try to make him sympathetic, like in Paradise Lost with Lucifer, just have him thrown out of heaven because he wanted to be God or something.
Well, I'll say this, and I think everyone has heard, Tolkien's letters and heard him say that he can't stand allegory. He is very against allegorical content, and that he doesn't like to put that into his works. However, with Tolkien being a very strong Catholic, being strong in his faith, I do believe that probably subconsciously he allowed that into some of his work, because we literally see Iluvatar as God and Melkor as the devil, because as Iluvatar is singing his songs above or with the angels, Melkor begins to sing a different tune, which then like offsets, and he tries to sing louder than Iluvatar. So Melkor tries to sing louder, and in doing so, Iluvatar casts him out down onto Earth. So if that's the beginning of the world, if that is the beginning of Middle Earth, where Iluvatar, God, is singing the songs amongst his angels, and Melkor tries to sing a different tune and sing it louder, that is at the beginning. So there is evil at the beginning, you know what I mean? So I don't know where they're coming up with this stuff, but that would be my guess as to what people would say in words against this trailer, or that trailer that was brought up.
I've got a $10 super chat here from Daniel, who is always very generous and always very thoughtful in his comments, and we have a lot of that in our chat. We're very lucky that way. But some of the comments he leaves on people's videos are like, they're just outstanding, and they do make you feel good about the work you've put in. So thank you, Daniel. For $10, he says, just like they cannot find writers who have a practical life experience like serving in the military, their new audience cannot understand escapism when they haven't lived lives worth escaping from.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one.
I'm gonna sit in this a little bit, because that parallels a lot of the things that I think goes into, again, Max's video on toxic fandom. I remember, what was it? It was a million years ago. No, it was just 6 months ago, when everybody thought the Wheel of Time, everybody was out there riding the Wheel of Time bandwagon, talking about how the rest of us were toxic, and oh my God, it's the best thing ever, and oh my God. Where are they? Where are all the people who loved Rey? Where are all the Reylos?
Oh yeah,
with their love of Star Wars, And I can't even make a joke about New Trek because there's nobody's watching it. Let's be honest about it. But same thing with Doctor Who. Where are all those people who called us all is and phobes and incels and being afraid of women? Well, nobody's watching that show either. And that's the fascinating thing about this. They brought these writers on, like Daniel's talking about. None of them have any life experience. They certainly don't have families. They have. I can't imagine any of these people, and it's a horrible thing I'm about to say, serving in anything that would require sacrifice. And I think that's part of why they can't write human beings anymore.
Well, living in their bubble.
Well, I mean the one that's running, the guy that was running. He contributed heavily to Picard, Akiva Goldsman. He wrote Batman and Robin.
That's the gold standard of Batman. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Hail to you, Daniel. That was a fantastic $10 super chat. You guys, we have gone just over 2 hours. I want to be very respectful of everyone's time. Are we all caught up on things? I think we are. I put together a very long playlist, but I wouldn't have changed tonight for anything. I had a blast, you guys. I am so honored to get to work with every one of you. Really, I spent 2 weeks on the road, had a blast. I didn't know how tonight was going to go, if I was going to be rusty, but all you guys covered for my numerous sins, and I appreciate it tonight, and my foibles. So let's go around the horn. Let's go ahead and start with Steve, the one and only Prophet of the Dragon. How's your sub count going? If you have not subscribed to Prophet of the Dragon, Steve, please subscribe. He is very, very close to 1K. And if anybody deserves it, it would be Prophet of the Dragon.
Appreciate
and
that.
I did not mean to exclude chat. So
I just looked them at 961, so thank you. I appreciate that. But
got you too.
Hey, whatever. Hey, I shoot. When we started this thing, or I started this thing,
I remember
this never was even on a dream on the horizon. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it's been a while since we've streamed together, but hoping to do a Wheel of Time bro down here soon. Got some of my White Cloak buddies and some other guys that are chomping at the bit to rip into some of the good stuff, the book stuff, not so much the show stuff, but it's always good to mix it up. So and my son's halfway through The Great Hunt, so that we'll get to talk to him again soon. And then of course we'll throw in the random Easton making me look like a fool in a video game stream.
Favorite work, my favorite of your work.
So thank you anybody that subbed to me. I appreciate all of you on the panel too. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
In honor, Steve, you were with me from I think the second or third live stream I ever did, so hail to you, brother. Let's go to Nerdporeal, the Admiral. Where can people find you? What are you working on? What are you doing?
All right, well, I call myself the Admiral because that's how Ricardo Montalban in Wrath of Khan pronounces Admiral. So I figure I might as well use that as my moniker. But yeah, my subscribe to my channel. It's called the Nerdporeal Life Form. So just take nerd and then Poreal, and then you got the word I just made up out of that void of a brain that I got. So there's a lot of things going on with my channel. First thing I'll say is that my current video project is a retrospective of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, the Zelda game, the first 3D Zelda game for the Nintendo 64, came out in '98. And I'm trying to make this my magnum opus, at least 2 hours long probably with an intermission. It's going to be epic. I already made my opening jingle, which is already epic. It's already up on my channel. You can check it out.
So that's good.
So that's my video project. I'm going to do a Better Call Saul review for the first half of the season, and then in a few weeks, Better Call Saul will be coming back on for its final half of the final season. And Prophet right there is my co-host for the after shows.
Yeah. I'll be there.
If you are watching Better Call Saul and you're watching it the moment it comes out, come by and check out the after show. We'll be talking in fine detail about the episode, and it'll be a blast. So
Stranger Things Friday too, right?
Yes.
And we're going to be streaming on your channel, Nerdporeal.
That's
I'm
right.
going to do it with you.
Volume 2.
I'll be there too.
Friday night. Yep. So So you, Steve, Corey, and Gray. It'll be the four of us talking about Volume 2. So if you haven't seen Stranger Things 4, it's an epic season. I felt Lord of the Rings vibes when Paul Reiser tells Eleven war is brewing. We have to get ready to fight because Hawkins is going to be a war zone. And I was just like, "Ooh, I can't wait! I want to see where they go with this." So
I know,
awesome. Volume 4 is like super duper, like
ready for it.
It's high in scope. So if you didn't like 3, you'll love 4.
Yes.
And then tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing my Orville after show. So because Orville drops on Hulu at 11 p.m. Central Time, I usually do my after shows at midnight. So some people might be too late, but I usually have a panel and I usually have special guest stars, and Steve's going to be one of those special guest stars tomorrow. So if you're watching the Orville the moment it comes out, check out the after show at midnight if you're still awake.
I love your passion, Nerdporeal. Never change, brother. And I don't even watch that What's Better Call Saul, and I just watch you guys going off about it because it's like it's
So
awesome to
good.
see
Better
you guys
Call Saul
nerd.
is such a
You
great
guys
written show. Like
nerd out about it.
It earns
Yeah.
everything that it builds up to.
Let me get to this super chat from Taker610, longtime supporter of this channel. Hail, great to see you. This is for $2. Says, has Max been cast as the next Wolverine yet? Max, are the rumors true?
I thought it was confirmed. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
no, unfortunately, no. I wish I could say it was true, but
Shoot.
you know who has been cast as the new Wolverine is his counterpart X-22. Because
Oh,
in the
no.
new comic, she says, "I am Wolverine." It's on the very cover of the book. It's "I am Wolverine."
Is Wolverine a title now, like Thor? Like everybody can be Wolverine if they just feel it in their hearts.
Even though X-22 already has her own title, and yet she still says I'm Wolverine.
She's ascended to
she's
Wolverine,
been
yeah.
cast. She took my casting, unfortunately, so you can thank her for that.
But
thank you, Taker610. I wish I had the talent to be able to have the depth of Logan Howlett Wolverine.
I'm going to do this other super chat from this guy who now is Mr. 2K. Flaccid Phoenix, 2,000 subscribers for $2. Says 1 p.m. Central Time on Film Threat after the nooner tomorrow.
Nice.
Are we going to have a nooner, Flaccid? You're going to have a quickie or a nooner?
I'm going to back out of this
Wow,
conversation.
Well,
Hail to you. Thank you very much, Flaccid.
I didn't know you guys had an
Go ahead.
OnlyFans. What happened?
Yeah, well, Marines, we got to stick together.
Oh, is that what you call it? Sticking
Oh,
together?
yeah,
Okay, all right.
That's what they do in the Marines.
Yeah.
They're doing this
50-50,
thing.
right? No, sorry.
I think I don't know if it's tomorrow or not, but they're starting the case against Lucasfilm. They're doing a court style case against Lucas, and I don't know if that starts tomorrow or not, but it is coming up. It's a cool concept.
Okay.
On Film
Okay.
Threat.
Well, that makes sense now. Thank you for putting that in there, Flaccid. And thank you for the $2. I'm going to go to the one, the only, our Canadian representation because we are diverse here. Zaxx. Oh, and a $5 super chat from Lyle Hammock. Let me get to that real quick. Lyle, thank you, brother, for $5. Thank you for being a Tavarian. Thank you for being a channel member. Thank you for being a friend. And thank you for always showing up to these live streams, he says. And what's sad is they had the means to show female warriors such as the Wayne Riders, Easterlings, who trained who trained their women to fight. It's so easy.
They don't care.
I agree.
They don't care.
Well, they might end
Lyle,
up doing
you're
that
right.
in the War of the Rohirrim, is what I'm hearing.
I hope
They're
that's
gonna have-
good. I have hopes for that one, actually. I don't know.
It's almost like the War of the Rohirrim is going out of the way to do everything that the Rings of Power is not.
Yes.
Which
smart
pretty much means they're doing Tolkien, if we're honest about it.
So that's a ways off, right? That's like 2024, I think they said for War of the Rohirrim.
23. Yeah, but Philippa, I can never remember. Barnes? Philippa, she worked with Peter Jackson. Boyens, I was close. Yeah, she's I think there's a woman who's not going to allow Peter Jackson's work and all of the Academy Awards they have to somehow be squandered with representational ideological garbage, but I could be, I hope I'm not wrong. Hail to you, Lyle Hammock. I was talking about the man from Canada, the one, the only, Kyle, Zaxx. Shout out your channel. What do you got going on, brother?
Well, first up tomorrow, I am going to be in the chat on Film Threat. I'm a mod there now, so I'm helping out, and they are starting that courtroom process tomorrow, so that should be fun. Thursday, what's good? The topic for this week, which is my reveal here, is going to be rated R comedies or adultish comedies.
Dude, I'm so on that.
Yeah, so I thought that'd be cool, different, right?
I'm calling dibs on Caddyshack. I'm calling dibs.
Animal House.
All right, fair.
What's that, Max?
Do you already have some in the queue ready to go, or no?
Not yet. Movies yet? No. Well, I have some ideas of movies I'll bring up, but I don't want other people bring one.
How about they're all going to be pre-2000 though? I can almost guarantee it.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, Hangover maybe.
Maybe yeah.
Okay.
Or was old school R I would assume so.
Yeah, we'll say R. It'll be a loose R. Like
Ooh,
yeah.
my favorite kind of R.
The looser the R, the better. Yeah. So that's the concept of the show this week. So I hope you guys show up and join us for that. And I'll announce the panel when I ask panelists and they say yes, and we'll take it from there. But yes, definitely we be there on Thursday at 8:15 Central.
Yeah. Now, I can't believe nobody jumped. Sorry, I just want to shout out Roman of the Empire, Blazing Saddles. Sorry, go ahead, Max.
Man. I was going to say, did you choose R-rated comedies just so you could put RRR in your title again?
I didn't, but I will.
That's a great.
Well, of course.
Gold.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. R-rated comedies done.
RRR-rated comedies. Yep. Hell yeah.
Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's blackface in it, so it's got to be R, right? Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah. Even I think probably people will say Step Brothers too. But
yeah.
Step Brothers was R.
I think that's fair. Yeah, that's good. I love that movie. Yeah.
We lost Nerdporeal, and I didn't nuke him, so I don't know if he just got tired of playing with us or Chicago Wi-Fi.
Zelda waits for him. Zelda waits for no man.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Fair. But okay, Zaxx, congratulations again on being monetized. Congratulations for what you've done. I love the concept of talking about things that we love. It is something that when you and I were talking about it, I had no idea it was going to catch on in so many. I got him, Zaxx. And that it was, it's a great idea and it's a lot of fun to participate in that. So hail to you, brother.
Well, and you guys make it work. It doesn't work without you guys in the chat. It's nothing. So. Thanks.
Oh, look at this naked gun. The one, the only, Mr. Silky, the man who should be Wolverine, Maxfield Von Priestley.
That's right.
Shout out your channel, brother.
Yeah, of course. Well, I just put out a video this morning talking about toxic fandom and the disingenuous and inauthentic conversations that are being had and those discussions and what they sound like, what they look like, and how we can fix that, how we can combat that, and just letting people know that if you have been called that you're not alone and you can stand firm and confident in knowing that you're just a passionate fan. So if you guys could go watch that, it would mean a lot. I would love to get a lot of traction on this because I think it says a lot of really cool is a dumb word, but it says a lot of really intriguing things that are cool. And hopefully, like I said, it gains some traction. So, but it's always great being here. Sorry again, I was late, but I am thankful to be on this panel. And
blame me.
Yeah, you guys
just blame me. It's my fault.
No. My fault. You guys are make this panel better, and you guys make the chat better, and these conversations better. So it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, that was a great video, Max. Definitely watch his video.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you again to everyone in chat. Thank you for all of my channel members. Do we want to go down that road? Apparently, somebody said that I was woke, and I'm like, what are we going to get the shots fired here? All right. That's for another show, and I'd love to talk about that on bring that to the Thursday night show by the one and only Zaxx. Let's carry that over there. Thanks to everybody who was in chat tonight. Thank you to everybody who's been a channel member. Thanks to everyone who gave super chats. Thanks to everyone who comments and leaves likes, thumbs up, and shares the videos. All of us here, I think I speak for all of us when I say that. You help make our channels. Without you, without your participation, without you calling us out, none of us would be here. So I just want to say thank you. It's I'm looking forward to making some videos now that I'm back home, and I look forward to following up on some of the promises and some of the conversations that were made with other creators in this space that we're going to be conspiring with. So you all have a great evening. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for your view. So have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
As ever, this is Salty Texas C. I am Corey DB. Thanks so much for watching. If you've liked what you've seen and heard, please hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have you on board. That way you know, and we have things like live streams, which we are going to be doing every Tuesday evening. Take care. I hope you're having a great 2022.